Welcome to the Select Board's meeting of Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Please join the board, all the boards, in a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bulletin, Planning Board, welcome.
Thank you.
Firefighters, welcome. Everybody in the audience, families, welcome. And the foundation, members that are here, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It being 7:04 and a quorum present, the Planning Board also calls its meeting into order.
Thank you. Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's meeting of the Plymouth Select Board and the Plymouth Planning Board are both being conducted in a joint meeting, but also a hybrid format. Members of the boards are joining us here in person at the Great Hall at Town Hall. We have a member of the Planning Board joining us virtually over the Zoom webinar platform. Members of the public who wish to attend this meeting may do so physically here at Town Hall, or they may do so over the Zoom webinar platform, the login information for which is included on the agenda that is posted on the town website. Members of the public who wish to simply observe the meeting may do so by watching us on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47. Also, pursuant to Massachusetts general law, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair, so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. The only recording that we are aware of at present is that being made by the local scene with the TV and YouTube broadcasts. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Chief Foley? Welcome.
Thank you very much. And Chairman, thank you to your board and all the boards taking some time out of their busy agenda this evening to help us recognize some really deserving individuals. I also like to recognize and thank Senator Dylan Fernandez, who came here tonight to present some citations from the State Senate and recognize, again, the dedication of our individuals tonight. So good evening, everybody. It's great to see everybody here tonight. It's always great to see a packed house at a Select Board meeting. I'm glad we could be the catalyst to fill the room for you. Hopefully the rest of your meeting goes pretty well.
Can you stick around?
We'll do what we can. We'll do what we can. It's my honor and privilege to be here tonight as we come together to celebrate some truly amazing individuals in our fire department. This promotional ceremony is a wonderful opportunity for us to recognize the hard work and dedication of our firefighters who put their hearts and souls into serving our community every day. I would also like to recognize Deputy Chief Jerome Hart and our town clerk, Kelly McElrath, for all the work that they do behind the scenes to make sure that this is a memorable event for everybody. So thank you very much. Today we'll be honoring those who are moving up in rank. But let's also take a moment to appreciate the incredible teamwork and camaraderie and dedication that make our department such a special place. Each of these individuals has chosen to be a leader in our department and our community, and we couldn't be prouder of them. Let's celebrate not only the positive impact that our firefighters have on the lives of others in our community, but also acknowledge the families' unwavering support and sacrifices. Their strength and resilience play a crucial role in keeping our firefighter community connected, healthy, and strong. I want to congratulate all of you tonight. We are truly excited for the positive impact that you are going to have in our department with your new roles. I'm keeping my comments kind of brief because I know that we have a lot of promotions to get through tonight. These promotions were started actually in the fall, and we just wanted to have an opportunity to get everybody together. So how we're going to work this is I'm going to call each individual up. Those individuals will stand before the board, facing the crowd. And as we get through this, all their bios, as we're calling them up, then we're going to swear them in separate groups with Kelly McElrath swearing them in. And then we'll have the families and the people who are going to be pinning those individuals come up afterwards. So I'll call you up after that. We'll start off with our lieutenants. Lieutenant Edward Geller, Jr. Come on up. Lieutenant Geller graduated from Plymouth South High School, participating in the Technical Studies Co-op internship with the Fire Department Maintenance Division. Also, that was run by his dad, who was our longtime mechanic, Ed Geller, for how many years, Ed? Just shy of 25 years. Thank you for your service, Ed.
Yes, thank you.
Lieutenant Geller was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department in January 11th of 2021. Lieutenant Geller earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, Hazmat Operational Level Responder, his Wildland Firefighter certification, and his Fire Instructor 1, and is a certified EMT. Lieutenant Geller is assigned to Group 3, Station 1. His achievements could be made possible with the support of his girlfriend, Kim Jaggers, and his family, retired Plymouth Call Force Captain, and his grandfather, Peter Geller, his parents, Don and Ed, and his sisters, Brooke and Sarah. Lieutenant James Nealon. Lieutenant Nealon served with the United States Marine Corps and worked as a paramedic prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on October 7th, 2019. Lieutenant Nealon earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, Hazmat Operational First Responder, Wildland Firefighter, Fire Instructor 1, and his EMT certification. In addition, he has earned his bachelor's degree in fire science and management and his master's degree in business administration. Lieutenant Nealon is assigned to Group 4, Station 1, and his achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife, Lauren. Lieutenant David Wiley. Lieutenant Wiley is a graduate of Plymouth North High School and served with the United States Army Rangers prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on December 30th, 2013. Lieutenant Wiley earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, Hazardous Materials Operational Level, his Wildland Firefighter certification. Lieutenant Wiley is assigned to Group 2, Station 1, and his achievement has been made possible with the support of his wife, Christina, his children, Isabella, Presley, Blakely, and Quinn. It's a busy individual. Lieutenant Kyle Anderson. Lieutenant Anderson graduated from Plymouth South High School and served in the United States Army prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on April 7, 2008. Lieutenant Anderson has earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, Hazmat Operational Level, his Wildland Firefighter certification. Lieutenant Anderson is assigned to Group 2, Station 3. His achievement has been made possible with the support of his wife, Erin, and his children. On to the captains. Captain Patrick Malone. Captain Malone was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on November 2nd, 2006. He was appointed to lieutenant on April 17th and captain on November 14th, 2024. Captain Malone earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, his Wildland Firefighter certification, his Public Safety Diver certification, and is one of the leaders of the Plymouth Fire Department dive team. He is also a member of the Plymouth County Technical Rescue Team. Captain Malone is assigned to Group 1, Station 3, and his achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife, Sarah, his daughter, Sadie, his brother, Brian, retired firefighter, and his mother, Elaine. Like I recognized the deputy earlier, he keeps me in check, so I got one more lieutenant to call up. I apologize. Slide down, Cap. Lieutenant Jeffrey LaChance. He is truly unforgettable. Sorry about that, LT. Lieutenant LaChance is a graduate of Plymouth South High School and served in the United States Coast Guard prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on November 29, 2006. Lieutenant LaChance has earned his Firefighter 1 and 2, Hazmat Operation, his Public Safety Dive Tender certification, and in addition has earned his associate degree in fire science. Lieutenant LaChance is assigned to Group 4, Station 6. and his achievement has been made possible with the support of his wife, Marissa, and his children, Brady, Cody, and Justin. Captain Carl Santino. Captain Santino is a graduate of Plymouth South High School, and served in the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division, and worked as in the medical field prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on November 16, 2015. He was appointed to lieutenant in May 2022 and captain on November 14, 2024. Captain Santino has earned his firefighter 1 and 2, hazardous materials first responder operational level, public safety diver, fire instructor 1, and his fire officer 1 and 2 certifications. Captain Santino is assigned to Group 4, Station 1. His achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife Kim and his children Caitlin, Cameron, and Kayla. Captain Samuel Pelagi. Captain Pelagi is a graduate of Plymouth North High School, and he was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on November 20th, 2006. He was promoted to lieutenant in February 2019 and captain on November 13th, 2024. Captain Pelagi has earned his firefighter 1 and 2, hazardous materials first responders operational level, fire instructor 1, fire officer 1 and 2, EMT paramedic, and is an EMT instructor. He is also a member of the department's Fire and Life Safety Educational Program. Captain Pelagi is assigned to Group 3, Station 1, and his achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife Valerie, his children Violet and Leo. Battalion Chief Brian Baragwanath is not able to join us tonight, but I'm still going to read his bio because he should be recognized for the achievement that he made tonight. Battalion Chief Brian Baragwanath was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on April 7, 2008. He was appointed lieutenant in April of 2017, captain in November of 21, and battalion chief in October of 2024. Battalion Chief Baragwanath has earned his firefighter 1 and 2, his EMT certification, fire instructor 1, incident safety officer, fire prevention officer 1 and 2, fire officer 1, 2, and 3 certifications, and has completed the Massachusetts Fire Academy's Chief Fire Officer Management Training Program. Battalion Chief Baragwanath is assigned to Group 1, Station 1, and had recently coordinated our in-house training, training 9 of our firefighter recruits that are currently enrolled at the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. His achievements had been made possible with the support of his wife, Angelica. Battalion Chief Brian Cusack. Battalion Chief Brian Cusack was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on January 18, 2005. He was appointed to lieutenant in July of 2012, captain in April of 2020, and battalion chief in November of 2024. Battalion Chief Cusack has earned his wildland firefighter, fire instructor 1 and 2, fire officer 1 and 2, and fire prevention officer certification 1 and 2. In addition, he has earned his associate's degree in fire science. Battalion Chief Cusack is currently assigned to the Fire Prevention and Code Compliance Division. His achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife, Beth, his daughters, Caitlin and Claire. And like I recognized earlier with Deputy Chief Jerome Hart, this next gentleman is our newest Deputy Fire Chief, Deputy Chief David Malaguti. Deputy Chief Malaguti was appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department on April 18, 1995, after serving in the Marine Corps Reserves as an aircraft rescue firefighter. He was promoted to lieutenant in April of 2001, captain in 2018, battalion chief in 2019, and deputy in 2024. Deputy Chief Malaguti has earned his Fire Prevention Officer 1 and 2, his Basic Fire Investigator, Incident Safety Officer, and his EMT certifications. Deputy Chief Malaguti is our Deputy Chief of Operations for the Plymouth Fire Department. His achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife Jocelyn and his family, his dad David, his late mom Linda, his son Brandon and his wife Siobhan, his daughter Brianna, and their granddaughter Sinead. And at this time, I'd like to call our town clerk, Kelly McElrath, to the podium.
Good evening. Congratulations. If the captains and lieutenants can step forward and raise your right hand, I'm going to ask you to state your name and your position when I get to that part. I state your name. Do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a, state your rank, please, of the Fire Department for the Town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth. So help me God. I promise to impart to my professional standards of quality and integrity, so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach and merit public confidence in the department. Congratulations. Okay, if you want to step back, and I'll have the battalion chief step forward, please. You get your own. Raise your right hand. I, Brian Kuzak, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a battalion fire chief of the Fire Department for the Town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution, the laws of the Commonwealth, so help me God. I promise to impart to my professional standards of quality and integrity, so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach, and merit public confidence in the department. Congratulations. So this is the third time you know this, right? I, David Malaguti, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a Deputy Fire Chief of the Fire Department for the Town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth, so help me God. I promise to impart my professional standards of quality and integrity, so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach and merit public confidence in the department. Congratulations.
We do that on purpose just to get them ready for public speaking. So, nice job, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I would like to also really thank the administration, the board, and of course, the taxpayers of Plymouth that continue to support the fire department so that we continue to be one of the best fire departments in the state. And, without the resources and the support that we have, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you for everybody for that. At this time, I'd like to call the people up that are going to be doing the pinning of these individuals. Come on up. Stand next to your person. And without drawing too much blood, if you could please pin the newly promoted officers. At this time, I'd like to call up State Senator Dylan Fernandez.
Great. Well, thank you, Chief. And it's just an honor to be in front of such an exceptional department. And you need that here in Plymouth with over 100 square miles, thousands of roads, thousands of acres of forests that the department has to cover. And there's just so many other jobs that it does, too, that even aren't related to fire, whether it's helping people grieving through a loss, helping with an overdose death, helping save people's lives. It's really remarkable work, and we wanted to honor that work with official citations from the Massachusetts Senate to show appreciation from the Senate for what you do. It is the oldest constitutional democracy in the world, so I think it carries a tiny bit of weight, and just wanted to, everyone will be getting their own, but just wanted to read a part of this, which just says, to David and everyone else, thank you for your service to the town of Plymouth, and congratulations on your promotion, signed by the Senate President, the Senate Clerk, and myself. So congratulations to each and every one of you, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, the other round. We'll hand them out afterwards. That's fine. Yeah, there's quite a crowd here today. That concludes our ceremony for today. If you want to just take a few moments to get a couple of pictures, if the board wouldn't mind, just to be able to take some snapshots of this event, we'll get out of your hair and you can continue your meeting. But thank you again for sharing your time with us tonight.
Thank you.
There's one guy who did paper.
So it's probably still the order. Yeah. But I think I'm going to try. How much time do we have?
You got a few minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 4 minutes, 35 seconds.
Okay, I'll try. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, congratulations. Board's going to take a 5-minute recess. Welcome back to the Select Board meeting. If someone could please shut the door. Chief. Moving on to administrative notes, we have 10 tonight. Any questions? If not, the wish of the board.
Mr. Chairman, unless my colleagues have questions, I'd like to take the admin notes as 2 separate groups. I'd like to do 1 through 3 as a group, and then 4 through 10 as a separate group, since 4 through 10 are town meeting articles.
Okay.
I would make a motion at this time to approve administrative notes 1 through 3 as a group.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion? Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, unless my colleagues have any questions or comments, I would make a motion to approve administrative notes 4 through 10, including these articles on the special town meeting warrant and recommending that town meeting approve them.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. Now we're going to move on to the agenda items on the Pilgrim 1,600-acre plan. Mr. Bulletin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Presenting tonight, we have our consultants from Sasaki. We have Alan D'Alessandro and Martin Zogren, who are going to offer a presentation regarding the first of the meetings, the public meetings, and some concepts that have come forth as a result of that. So, gentlemen, please.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. I want to extend our congratulations to all the firefighters who received promotions tonight. It was lovely to sit through that ceremony and to see the great work they're doing for your town. My name is Martin Zogren. I'm an urban planner and urban designer from the firm Sasaki. I'm joined tonight by Alan D'Alessandro, who's also a planner at Sasaki, and we'll be making this brief presentation to you all about the Pilgrim 1,600-acre site and the work to date. Slides up on that side of the room. Tonight we'll run through a little bit of the overview of our process, our understanding of the site, just quickly, what we've learned from our market and fiscal analysis, as well as what we have learned from the overall survey and the public meeting which we conducted just recently here in the town of Plymouth. To familiarize everyone, which I'm sure you already know, the 1,600 acres is the site immediately inland from the Pilgrim plant that is between our town center and Manomet. So just to orient everyone around those, what we're calling the Pilgrim 1,600 site itself. This study is being mostly funded by the U.S. Economic Development Administration with organizational support provided by the town of Plymouth, the Plymouth Foundation, and the Old Colony Planning Council. As I mentioned, my name is Martin. I'm from Sasaki. We're a planning and urban design firm located in Boston, Massachusetts. We're over 70 years old with over 350 planners, designers, architects, and landscape architects. For this effort, we're joined for VHB out of Watertown, Massachusetts, who's handling the market analysis, who's handling the transportation and energy analysis, and then Landwise, who's doing the market analysis for us. Our overall process really is 3 phases up at the top there, phase 1, 2, and 3, data collection and analysis, our concept development, and the final master plan documentation. We are roughly here in late February still gathering information, but also reporting out what we've heard so far. From this, we will begin to create visions and scenarios for the site. We will come up with 3 options. We will conduct another open house to view those with members of the public, gain their input, refine those options, and bring them back into the final master plan. So the extended schedule here, just to sort of show some of the different layers between our public outreach, the guidance meetings such as tonight that we're having, the stakeholder engagement which we've already begun through a series of one-on-one meetings and meetings in groups, our corresponding media, and then our deliverable sort of milestones for the overall project itself. So engagement to date, we've had a very active effort and over 3,000 survey responses, which Alan will talk to in just a little while here, 3,000 visits to the project website, and over 130 comments gathered from that website. I would also like to point out that we did meet with some of the gentlemen who were recently promoted here and making the introductions with the infrastructure personnel, the public safety personnel, forestry, recreation, sustainability, environment, town manager, Chamber of Commerce, and some of the other non-for-profit groups that represent really some of the issues around the open space issues here. It's been tremendously rewarding thus far. As we understand the site, again, the overall location of the site itself that you know so well, and as we zoom in a little bit closer, we begin to sort of illuminate some of the roles of the various parties involved in this effort. This is first and foremost privately owned land. The community's role in this process is really to help communicate a vision for what is possible on the site in accordance with their needs and desires for the future. Our role is to shape that vision into something which is tangible, which is something which has metrics associated with it, and which sort of follows along with both an economically and technically feasible plan. So we'll shape that into something which is useful to you all. The town's role is really to work with the landowner to advocate for the realization of this vision. We wanted to clarify two things here. One in which the site is not completely the same across the entire 1,600 acres. Here, as we know, the town has right of first refusal for all land south of Rocky Hill Road. If the town were to acquire this land, it would have a large degree of control on its future. If it does not, there are other mechanisms, including zoning and collaboration, that could influence the future of this parcel. That right of first refusal expires in approximately 7 years. There's a separate process that has to do with the decommissioning on the site, which is adjacent to the water, the land north of Rocky Hill Road, which does not offer the town right of first refusal. Like with the overall area that I just reviewed, to influence what happens on this land, the town can use zoning in collaboration with the property owner, Holtec. So two distinctions there really around the border of Rocky Hill Road. As you all know, it's one of the higher points, I'll say, along the East Coast and within Massachusetts, certainly with a peak of 397 feet, a very sort of prominent area of the town that has views overlooking the coast and both the forest as well. There are many trails and walking ways that take advantage of the topography, which changes rapidly. There are many steep hill slopes that are challenging for development, but provide great opportunities for recreational uses and scenic views, of course. This map interestingly shows that the red areas are those with slopes greater than 20%, making it very challenging for development, and the other two colors, the yellow and green, potentially better for development broadly. We know that there are a significant amount of interior forest here. It can be really seen as a larger network within preserved open spaces, within sort of the geography inland, and that there are also features of wetlands and vernal pools, as well as coastal conservation that comes into impact right on the coast itself. We understand the 61B Forestry Conservation Program as well that's currently in place for the site. Infrastructure running through the site itself, of course, 3A, moving cars through the site itself, the very important sort of existing transmission, high voltage electricity grid, power line that's moving from the plant site on the coast inland, which is a very unique feature of this site, as well as sort of pointing out sort of the challenges around sewer service here, and that it is 2.5 miles from where sewer service is possible there. There are different solutions that have emerged over the years for different types of development, but we wanted to point out that is one of the sort of challenging aspects of the site itself. Broadly, we know that there are views from a number of places given to those sloped areas, given to the hilltop as well, and an understanding of those existing breakwaters that exist at the plant site today. All combined, we see that there's a number of factors here, a diversity of conditions. We should not think of this all as the same site itself, but there's actually sort of sub-areas within the site, sort of north and south of 3A, north and south of Rocky Hill Road, adjacent to the coast, where the areas have more waterways, and then where those scenic views can be captured.
So that's the site analysis, and I'll add another important layer of the research that we've done to date, which is the market and fiscal analysis. So the context that we're analyzing this site in is these two factors. One is the town's fiscal resilience, specifically addressing how the town will fill the gap left by the loss of the pilot from the Pilgrim Power Station, which was at one point almost 25% of the town's revenue. And try to diversify its tax base so that it's not as reliant on the residential taxpayer. We're also looking at the town's job-housing balance, which tells us that a lot of people who live in Plymouth have to leave Plymouth for their employment, and a lot of people that work in Plymouth actually don't live here. And so there's a kind of jobs-housing imbalance occurring. So we're going to analyze all sorts of different possible sectors and uses and talk about the general trends and challenges we're seeing with those uses right now. So housing is a very strong market. I don't think that will come as a surprise to anyone. But in terms of looking at the town's finances, we know that housing can be very challenging. Housing requires services and infrastructure which cost the town money, and only certain types of housing are going to have a net positive impact on the town's fiscal situation. And we're also hearing that Pine Hills, which was your most recent major housing development, that model of developer-funded infrastructure is increasingly hard to make work in today's economy with high interest rates and high construction costs. The industrial market in this region is pretty weak. There's a 15.9% vacancy rate, but we have interviewed industrial brokers in the area that say there's a demand for larger and more flexible industrial spaces. But definitely industrial is something that requires a proximity to highway or other major mobility infrastructure, so that's why you see major industrial markets in places like Mansfield and Norwood. For this site to be a really attractive place for an industrial use, would have to leverage the access either to the coast or to that energy infrastructure or something else that makes it distinct. The energy market is one that is very strong, and Massachusetts has one of the strongest clean energy markets in the country. There's a lot of public and private funding going after clean energy. And this site, of course, has existing energy infrastructure, which is something that any future projects would benefit from, and that would lower their first costs. And retail, Plymouth has an impressive retail market with a steady growth rate and a very low vacancy rate of 2.5%. That is extremely low from everything that we've seen. And that indicates there's probably a little bit of room for growth, but most of that growth would be targeted on the kind of Main Street environment, those kind of small business environments. We also noticed that Manomet kind of has a smaller inventory of retail spaces relative to its population. Hospitality and tourism is, of course, very important in Plymouth, and that market is doing well. It's about average for the greater region. It is mostly focused on your value-oriented customer, so someone spending around $100 a night. There are a few luxury properties in Plymouth, Mirview Inn and Spa at Pine Hills is an example, but that is a much smaller market here. And offices and labs are something that there was a high growth rate, and with commercial offices specifically, now a extreme slowdown with a high vacancy rate in the metro area of 17%, people working from home, much less need for office spaces. Similar thing is happening in research and labs that has huge growth around education and healthcare institutions, but that is slowing in the region. There is always the possibility of build-to-suit office and lab uses, but that is something that we're not really seeing developers pursuing right now. So we looked at the site analysis and the market and fiscal analysis, and now we're going to add in the layer of public input, which we're looking at all of this together. So the public input, as Martin mentioned, we'd had amazing participation in this process. We were really impressed. We ran a survey from early January to early February. We got way more than 3,000 responses. About half of those were incomplete, but still, it's an amazing participation rate. And some of our key takeaways from the survey were that conservation was clearly a priority, but people recognized that there was a need for financial mechanisms to support that conservation. Housing is a divisive issue. It is a lot of places, and people expressed both concern that housing is placing a strain on town resources, as well as an interest in supporting some affordable housing in order to create a generationally and economically diverse town. And there's also a lot of interest in what makes Plymouth special and trying to leverage that through this site and other places. So things like your historic heritage, your great access to open space, the marine industry and the history of marine industries here, and the energy and conservation history here were all really mentioned by a lot of people in the survey. Complementary to the survey, we hosted a public forum that happened on February 13th. We had 175 people meet us here in the Plymouth Community Middle School. And this was a great conversation. People weighed trade-offs, and we had a really fun time engaging in envisioning this site's future. Yep. So we asked the community, the participants in this public forum, 4 big questions, we called them. And these questions were really designed to prompt a discussion around how we're going to balance the different needs of the town and the different needs of this site. So the first was, is the Pilgrim 1600 the right place to expand and diversify the Plymouth tax base? So we discussed in what ways could this site be good or not good for finding ways to diversify your tax revenue. The second question was jobs and housing, thinking about whether this site is a good place to generate either jobs or housing to address that imbalance that I was referring to earlier. And as we went through all of these, we gave people, you see here at the bottom, these kinds of inputs that we received from the survey so they could kind of compare what they were thinking to what the broader community thought. We had a conversation about conservation, asking how the Pilgrim 1600 not only could contribute to the recreation and open space needs of the Plymouth community, but also how people might imagine funding that kind of conservation in a way that's sustainable and long-term. And then we talked about quality of life, which really captures everything that we were talking about there, the priorities for quality of life, and whether this site could be part of addressing any gaps in needs for services and other things. So the results of our conversation were that there was a pretty unanimous priority for conservation, but that did not mean that participants felt 100% of the site had to be conserved. And I think it was important, what Martin said earlier, to think about this site not as just one monolith, but a bunch of different conditions in a bunch of different places that are going to require different solutions. So many expressed an interest in something that had a compact footprint that would generate revenue and enable conservation of the majority of the site. And those some things fell into these 4 categories. The most popular, of course, was trying to use the site to leverage open space tourism and bring in dollars that way. Another was innovation economy ideas, things like blue-green infrastructure, blue-green technologies, and leveraging the kind of energy technology in a way to have climate technology and sustainability be the focus of a innovation district. People also mentioned a lot of anchor institutions. Woods Hole was a common one mentioned as a precedent. And then housing was a discussion we had, though it was probably the least popular use. So I'll talk about each of these. And so you'll see on the right-hand side of the slide some images of things that we're not necessarily recommending, but that community members mentioned during this process as kind of interesting comparisons. So many groups that we talked with liked the idea of something that would benefit from the open space, would be able to derive value from maintaining the open space, but also bring in tourism jobs and dollars. So things like a health spa, like the Bretton Woods complex, or ideas like the Kingdom Trail system, which is a mountain biking trail system that does have lodges and stores that bring in some revenue. On the innovation economy front, we saw a wide diversity of ideas. A lot of them had to do with how you could leverage both the coastal adjacency and the energy infrastructure of the site to create some unique things like climate tech, biomanufacturing, green energy, and aquaculture. We saw a lot of people draw parallels between this site and Fort Devens, where there was used to be a military base, but they've adapted some of that land into an innovation district where they're doing biomanufacturing now. People also explored different energy systems. Some of them are very early, like tidal energy. That's something that's being piloted in Bourne. A lot of people discussed anchor institutions as something that could potentially be attracted to this site. And while a lot of these institutions would be nonprofits and wouldn't really generate a lot of revenue, they would stimulate the local economy and create jobs. So a lot of people mentioned Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, that being nearby, and a great example of this kind of anchor institution around which a lot of other uses that are private have started to form and kind of coalesce. Other things like Tanglewood is a similar example. And then there were a lot of people who asked, well, are there schools nearby or hospitals or other institutions that are looking for room to grow and could potentially use part of this site? Lastly, we had a discussion around housing. Housing was largely unpopular as a use for this site. I think we heard that pretty clearly from a lot of people. And people saw also from our site analysis that there are disadvantages for housing, the lack of infrastructure and other things. But I think it's an interesting conversation to have about how conservation of this land might prompt looking at other parts of the town, thinking through the master plan process and where there can be infill and more efficient use of land in order to meet some of the housing demand that people did recognize and desire for a more generationally and economically diverse town. So we brought all of this information together, our fiscal and market trends analysis, our site suitability analysis, what we heard in the survey, and what we heard from the public forum feedback. And we looked at all of these different potential uses and kind of gave them a ranking. Different color, brighter green means we heard more positive things or we learned more positive things, suggesting suitability of that use, and darker red meant less positive. That's not to say any decisions have been made or anything like that. What we're going to do now is kind of take what we've learned from all these different sources, our research and our interactions with the community, and come up with those concept alternatives, those different scenarios that Martin mentioned, and go back to the community on April 10th in an open house where we'll allow everyone to compare those different scenarios and think about the aspects that they like and dislike about those. So today we just, I guess, opened up for any discussion, any questions from the boards.
Mr. Mahoney?
I'm sorry, I got Martin, and I didn't get
Martin,
your...
Alan.
Alan?
Yeah.
Alan, yes.
Alan, great. Alan, hi, how are you?
Good.
Can we go back? So I'm just going to focus on two graphs,
Sure.
and some of the individuals in the room can already know where I'm heading. But let's go back to the statistical breakdown of the graph of the portfolio of the tax base.
Sure.
Okay, so we had, I'm sorry, what did Ann Dunn do for us, assessor? Okay, all right, so our lead assessor just retired, and I didn't have any conversations with her with respect to your presentation, but whenever we talk about diversification of a tax base, she's always with us in spirit, okay? So the reason that is an improvement over what she would do, she would come in December of every year, I think she did 23 of them, and she would give you a snapshot in time of where the tax base was. But it wasn't a trend of where it had been, okay? So this is a definite improvement over hers. I would have presented it in a different manner, and I would have, in a perfect world, included more data. And so the key 2 years are 1971 and 1972. Do you know why? Okay. So in 1971, there was no tax revenue in the community from a nuclear power plant. But in 1972, there was. Okay? So when you say that the power plant at one point in time was 25% of the revenue of the budget, okay, so that's inaccurate. It was 50%. So the FY73, it was 49.86. So I'm going to take the liberty of rounding up to 50%.
Right.
Okay. So now, if that had gone back to 1971, we'd have a 55-year window of what was going on in the community.
Right.
Okay. And the reason it's gone from instantaneously, when you woke up in the first year of the fiscal year of 72, and all of a sudden your tax base was 70%, industrial, commercial, and personal property, it was an artificial house of cards. Okay. And the reason it's now 86% residential is because you've added 12 to 13 billion of residential in the last 55 years. And you have another few billion in the queue before you reach build-out. Okay, so the reversal of that trend is a statistical impossibility. And just mentioning that you want to reverse that trend is saying that you want to tax people out of their homes. Okay? So I live in a house that was built in 1870, so it's 155 years old. So that means that we're defining residential development, especially in this community, because we like to claim that we're the first one in the New World. We mention residential taxation is measured in centuries. Industrial commercial taxation is measured in decades. So the Independence Mall opened up in the town of Kingston in 90 or 92, and 20 years later, they were approaching, this is at the height of the recession, they were in Kingston Town Hall telling the town manager that they needed a reduction in their taxes of almost $500,000 because they weren't sustainable. That's 20 years. We had a power plant open up in 72, so did in Vernon, Vermont, and Wiscasset, Maine. Okay? So Wiscasset, Maine had a nuclear power plant that opened up in 72. It closed in 97. Okay, so whatever we put down on that ocean front there is eventually going to go out of business. So I just want to, the second slide I want to critique is use the first question. Towards the end, you had questions that you were asking.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, you're not expanding or diversifying the tax base. So one, it's a statistical impossibility. Two, it's against public policy. We leveraged the revenue from the power plant to artificially lower taxes to tell tens of thousands of people to move here instantaneously so we could continue to overtax them. And then on top of that, you passed on 3,000 acres so that you could have an award-winning residential development put up, which is almost, pushing $2 billion in valuation. Okay? If Holtec tomorrow got permission to build 6 small modular reactors, and they produced 1,800 megawatts of electricity, and they paid us $20 to $25 million, okay? You're just repeating the mistakes of the past. So that's just completely misleading to the Plymouth taxpayer primarily. It will not do that. The board for the last 6 to 8 years has had a vision of a multi-billion-dollar build-out. We are supportive, speaking for myself, of some sort of massive build-out with respect to that, the 150 to 300 acres that is closest to the water's edge. In a perfect world, something would occur there that made sense for the community. The other 12 to 1,300 acres would be put into conservation. But having said that, I can tell you right now, and I said this at a forum last night, doesn't matter what they pay you or what you generate in property taxes, 20, 30, 40 million a year. If it doesn't go in the general fund, taxes go down immediately, and they don't go up over the next 40 years, $3 to $8 billion. If it goes in the general fund, you continue to be taxed out of your house. And it's unfortunate because those individuals who treated that money that way back in 71, they could never have foreseen what the results would have been. And what's fascinating to me is Government is completely incapable of learning the mistakes of the past. You have the textbook example of what not to do with a revenue stream, and probably 5 to 10 years from now, something's going to happen, and we're just going to do the same thing over and over, and it's sad.
Mr. Canty.
Well, I appreciate the glass half-empty approach. But could we go back to the first slide that Mr. Mahoney brought us to? So I would like to focus not on the left side that we just focused on for a bit, but more on the right side of the slide. So the data that you have there, which candidly is a little different than some other data I've seen on the same subject, but is still concerning whether it's this number or a different number that I've seen in the other master planning process. But the differences are meaningless because ultimately it demonstrates the existence of the same problem, which is that too many people that live in Plymouth cannot afford to work in Plymouth, which affects our tax base, because we don't have higher paying jobs, we don't have sustainable businesses that are attracting people in a sustainable way. It also affects, for all those people, I used to commute from West Plymouth to Boston for work. And so that was a 12-hour day, 5 days a week. So I was not, at that time, very civically engaged in my community because I was spending a tremendous amount of time outside of Plymouth, and this was really my bedroom. And Boston was benefiting from the industrial and commercial tax base up there from my working over there, and Plymouth was providing me services here, and residential taxpayers consume more services than they pay for on average, not always, and commercial, usually the opposite. So when I think about what I'd like to see happen with particularly the 1,530.35 acres that we have the right of first refusal on, I would like to see, for the record, so it's clear, the vast majority of the land preserved in some way, either preserved exactly as it is or preserved with some walking trails, some nature education, something like that would be low impact, some eco-tourism related things, such of that nature, so that people can enjoy it and so that the natural features of that particular parcel, which are truly unique, are preserved. But in terms of particularly on like Powerhouse Road, which is already kind of set up for some industrial development, I could see some jobs created there and some economic opportunity created there, ideally to allow more people to live and work within Plymouth so that we can stop 79% of our folks having to leave town in order to live here. Can we go to the fiscal responsibilities slide that we were on before that has some of the responses? So I went to the February 13 meeting. I was actually, my signature bald head, as it's been called, was noted in that prior slide. But I liked, for example, the Science and Research Center, like a Woods Hole was mentioned, like a Woods Hole North. So you have good jobs, higher paying jobs that are doing good work in Plymouth that's related, even though it is economic development, it's related to environmental and scientific pursuits. You know, we are in a transitional stage, not just in this community, but in this country and this civilization in terms of what's going to happen in our environment over the next several years. And if we could attract some of those jobs and create some of those solutions within Plymouth, that would not just benefit our tax base and our residents, but our society. And that would be great. Green and Energy Tech Industrial Park, I like that. Was not a big fan of the affordable apartments on this particular site. I think we do need affordable housing. We do need it in the community. I think where we need 2,800 or so total units, we're about 454 or so away from that once everything that's currently pending has been approved. Hotels and resorts, maybe some light of that to attract people to the nature trails and stuff to take advantage. Obviously, they could stay there. Blue economy, we're trying to build up a blue economy. Industrial center, I think that would be a good use. Another thing was talked about was data centers. Now, data centers are potentially a power drain and an environmental impact in and of themselves. But if we could find a solution to make that more environmentally friendly in some ways, which I think we could with certain solutions, those are pretty good jobs. There's a lot you can tax in a data center for a municipality, which would be a benefit and is relatively low impact in traffic. Because I know a lot of the neighbors and abutters in the neighborhoods in that area are concerned that if it was economically developed, that it would substantially change the character of that particular area of town in big ways. And I think those types of solutions would leverage the area responsibly, but not unduly create too much overflow in traffic. Some other things, fishing and aquaculture a little bit, mountain bike trails maybe, a nature center and an outdoor museum. At my table, we were a little unclear what an outdoor museum is, but it sounded nice. And that was something that could maybe go away from Powerhouse Road and go, somewhere else on the parcel that would otherwise be, because that sounds like something you would want out in nature, presumably. So those were some of the things that I thought were a good use of the parcel that could actually attract not just good jobs, good paying jobs, but also good quality work that's being done within our community. Because we estimated when we negotiated the pilot that back at that time, if we were to buy the whole 1,530.35 acres, it would cost between $35 and $50 million. Obviously, it's probably more now, almost 2 years later. And in order to justify buying as much of that as possible, we're going to need to have some return on investment for the community in terms of the tax base. We can, as you mentioned, have some level of control over what happens on this parcel with our zoning, but unless we own it, we can't fully control it. And we did pass at town meeting recently a land bank proposal, but it's only the first step of a 3-step process, so that land bank does not exist yet. So it's imperative that this community keeps putting money in the Nuclear Mitigation Stabilization Fund to leverage to buy as much of this parcel as we can. We can leverage other funds and grants that we get as we can do that. But even if we zone this to be exactly on paper as we wish someone else would do it, somebody else could buy it and use 40B to put housing where we want industrial or housing where we want something preserved. So unless we buy it, we cannot control it. So I think it's important that we keep that in mind because I think the fate of this parcel is in many ways going to define the fate of this community for this generation and particularly the generation yet to come. So I think it's also a good reason for us to get some of our stuff in order and rally behind this so that we can focus on trying to get our fiscal house in order to purchase the land, as much of the land as we can. And if we don't end up purchasing as much of it as we wanted to for one or various reasons, at the end of the day, our fiscal house will be in order, and that wouldn't be so bad either. So I think we should use it as a casus belli to actually advance on some of these issues that for many times, and I won't go into it like John did, but for many years we have not been emphasizing looking towards tomorrow. We've been focusing on the problems of today or the problems of yesterday. So that is what I would like to see. That is what I would like to do if it were up to me, but I'm just one member of a multi-member board of 2 boards that are present, so I will stop talking now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I largely agree with what Mr. Canty had to say. I'm curious to know if there's been any discussion about supporting infrastructure for development that would go into this area. I don't know if you folks have traveled down there, but the road in and out of Manomet between Rocky Hill Road and Powerhouse is almost exclusively one lane in both directions. I think that's part of the source of a lot of folks' agita around traffic coming in and out of that area. Have you folks addressed that? If not, do you plan to?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people mentioned 3A as a challenging road. Some people were curious if this process would be an opportunity to straighten and widen it. That's something we'll look into.
So you've thought about it?
Yes.
But,
we have traffic engineers on the team, but until we have proposals, we can't really test their traffic impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And again, we're still in this sort of gathering and listening phase about to, again,
Sure.
build on the wisdom that we're hearing and then begin to propose. Certainly if the infrastructure and the roadways come up That was a big topic in terms of increased congestion, was part of the conversations we had. But any scenario which shows increased development, we'll have to then look at those impacts on the existing roadways and what upgrades are needed for those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Bolton, your board?
Thank you for a very informative presentation. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I did want to ask you about was, are there both outside incentives and mandates that were considered with respect to this site? One of the things that we're seeing, of course, is reduced federal support for a lot of the things that we're trying to develop and support in this community. Conversely, there are some things that there are now being additional funds made available to support. Power generation. We've had a big issue in this community and in this state with our recent electric bills. I don't think anyone has had as hard a time as the people of the Northeast when seeing these outrageous increases. So power generation is certainly something that we know from hearing from our state delegation and from this board is something that is being considered strongly. I imagine at some point there will be incentives to create better green energy. Is that something that we can capitalize on? At the same time, are there also things that may be pushed upon us that we don't want, that we need to figure out a way to respond to now? The state, again, has compelled housing in any and every corner that it can find. The governor was here. She was supporting affordable housing, which was wonderful, and at the same time announced that her administration is seeking 222,000 units of housing in Massachusetts over the next decade. And Plymouth is squarely in the 7.5% to 10% increase of housing area that she expects to see. That's going to put demand upon us to put housing in places where we don't want housing. And I'm in agreement generally with the other members of the board who have spoken. This is not a particularly good site for housing. There are small portions of it adjacent to other neighborhoods that maybe have some value for housing, but given where that is, it's certainly not going to be affordable housing, not at the prices of this land. So how do we address those demands that are being put upon us, and how do we try and capitalize on those incentives that we may want to do? So that's something I'm going to just not ask you to do, because obviously you're waiting to, but ask you to consider as part of your ongoing presentations and research, because that's something I think that the town could use some guidance on. Thank you.
I would only add just a little bit, given how long we've been working on this, which is not tremendously long, the dynamic nature of incentives and the landscape broadly as a country have changed dramatically in the last month. And so now the money moving in different places and the different priorities being set out, it's very fresh to all of us. So we'll respond as best we can as that continues to probably change quite rapidly.
Thank you very much. The planning board is all set. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank the board. Charlie, did you want to say anything because you weren't in the room? It's all good? Yes, I suppose the 1,500 point, what is it, Kevin?
1,530.35.
30.35 acres. The jury's out with that. I haven't really decided or been persuaded, and really it's not our land, but we'll have the process going forward, and I understand that. I, too, agree with Mr. Bolton that electric generation should be looked at there, safe. Much smaller key, but safe. Even if it meant ABV, looking at, a municipal power agreement with the town and special rates for the residents, rather than taking all the revenue and, like John said, putting it in the wrong places. I agree with him 100%. And it's easy to say now, in fairness, but just from being around and looking around, I mean, those are the things. Utility bills, believe it or not, are a huge problem not just in this town. I mean, you just have to look, and people are crazy right now. And I don't blame them. So I look at and I've been doing a little looking online. I think it's a SMR 300, and I think it's Holtec has these facilities elsewhere, and they have them all over Europe. They're much safer. They're small. Actually, they call them portable, but I'm still getting all my information on them. So these are things we have to look on, and if we go with anything like a data center, we are going to need high power. And the thing about data centers is, from what I've been reading and looking at, is few employees, in these big buildings, which are valued very high. So looking at the big picture, I'm not going to lean either way tonight, but whichever way I lean will be naturally for the people I represent first, and to do the best thing for the town. And the wish of the board, of course. It's not just my decision. So I think we're a long way from there, but at least we're going down the right path. So if there's no other questions, I'll let the planning board close out their portion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, can I have a motion to dismiss? Motion to adjourn?
I would make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Second. We have a remote member, so I'll do it by roll. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Planning board is adjourned for the evening. Thank you very much to the select board for hosting us this evening, for the members of the foundation for showing up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cole, and I know Mr. Kimball's here. Any members of the board from the foundation, thank you. Mr. Goldberg, welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Board of Selectmen. My name is Joe Goldberg. I happen to be lucky enough to run Memorial Hall for the town of Plymouth. I like to call it the heartbeat of our town. So, over the last few years since COVID, we've had a lot of strides in the positive direction. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to take you through some of the changes and growth that we've had. So since opening up after COVID in 2021, we had an estimated of 39 events. During that time, this past year, we closed out with 103 events. There was quite a growth, and it looks like it's going to continue in 2025. At this point, we have 110 booked events on our calendar for this coming year. That tends to grow as we go on. Our average attendees also reflects that. After COVID, we averaged about 750 attendees per events at Memorial Hall. Last year, we grew that number to well over 1,000 attendees. And then we're projecting by ticket sales and where we are already in 2025 that those numbers will continue to grow between 1,100 and 1,200 attendees per event. So that's on average. Our growth also continues not only with our long-term promoters, the Philharmonic, Cage Titan, Spectacle Management, and the Bob Marley Comedy Group, but we've also added some over the last few years. Improper Bostonians, J&G Promotions. Greystone is actually a really good promoter. They're out of L.A. They actually flew out from L.A. to tour Memorial Hall. They saw what we had to offer, and we actually hit a milestone with them. With the new sound system and the add-ons that we've done in the hall, we've actually been able to meet 100% of their requirement for one of the big-name artists that they're going to bring in this year. So we're looking at August. The Miss USA pageant, we struck that was a really good deal. It's a 3-year proposal where they're going to rent Memorial Hall for 3 days. Not only that they are going to rent 100 hotel rooms a night for 3 nights for the next 3 years. That's roughly 900 hotel rooms. So they will be conducting Miss Massachusetts. That will be part of Miss USA pageant. Soundcheck Studios, that's the group that runs a small auditorium in Pembroke. They're actually growing, and they want to do shows at Memorial Hall. And today I met with 99.9. They want to do their concerts here, and they want to help promote us and meet with the restaurants downtown. So, and then Memorial Hall, the last 2023 and 2024, we did 2 events. Both were successful. Both made money. And we're hoping to do between 4 to 5 this coming year. So, carrying on with the growth, some of the nonprofit rates that we did in the past, in 2008, they were set. So, for instance, if someone came in and rented the main hall, we were offered limited sound equipment for them, and our rental rates reflected that, and for about $1,500. In 2024, the Select Board voted to increase those rates to reflect the new sound system and the services that we offer. So, and rent to the main hall for a promoter would be roughly $3,500. So we were able to increase those revenues as well. We were also able to continue to meet nonprofit rates, so we were able to reduce rates for those folks that come in as well. Some of the improvements we've done over the hall, in the hall over the last few years is about 18 months ago, we added the new sound system. Every promoter that has come in since we've added it has used it, with the exception of one cover band. But groups like Lyle Lovett, the Indigo Girls, America, those folks all come in, used it and loved it and have raved about it, so that has been a huge thing. One of the things we've added with that is the amplification and monitor mixes on back of the house. We've never been able to do that before, so now we offer it in-house, so that's pretty groundbreaking for us. We've also improved our lighting. We added 14 moving LED lights, which reduces energy, reduces heat, and allows us a little bit more flexibility. We added a new lighting console that someone like the Philharmonic now has the ability to use it and reduce their expenses at the hall. We completely redid the Blue Room thanks to the DPW, led by Carl and Gary. We used some of the craftsmen to come in and help paint and reduce some of the costs there, so that we repainted the whole room, the columns, the ceilings. We added a new sound system that was refurbished from the old sound system that came out of the main hall, so it reduced some of the expenses there. And we added some new of the air conditioners in the room. We increased concession stands. We added a 3rd floor on there, so it helps our promoters who come in to increase revenue for them, which then increase revenue for the town, because 20% of their gross revenue comes to us. We added video menu boards throughout the concessions area on all 3 levels. That also adds revenue because we can now advertise businesses, restaurants, hotels on those, which we do. We renovated the kitchen, completely painted it from floor to ceiling. Again, thanks to the DPW, we used their help, so it reduced rates on us to do that. We added an ice maker, the refrigerator. Now, all of these things we were able to do at no expense to the taxpayers. These came out of our revolving funds that we were able to get chargebacks from our clients and stuff. So all these improvements have not hit the taxpayers in town. We actually got a grant to redid the Hall of Flags. We repainted the ceilings, the floors, the carpets. We added new video displays. That in the best part that kind of hits home to me is we added QR codes for some of the fallen heroes in our Hall of Flags. So someone who comes in, they could use their phone, they would hit a QR code, and there would be a video of that fallen soldier made by their family telling you who that was. So it's no longer just a uniform, there's an actual person behind that. These are some of the pictures. The picture on the left is what it looked like before the renovation, and what you see on the right is after the renovation. The next picture is the same thing. You'll see some of the damage on the left and what it presently looks like on the right. We, with the help of Tiffany Parks, we were able to get a 50-50 grant from the state, and we contributed money from our revolving funds and to work with the DPW, and we were able to do that at no cost to the taxpayers. So we actually have something that's really moving when you walk in there right now. That hasn't been done since 2000, so it's been quite an upgrade. Some of the things we did because of all the increased business, we realized that we were lacking in area of security, so we wrote a new security policy that will be brought before you soon. We're putting the final touches on it. We increased our police patrol from 1 police officer to 2, so we actually have a backup to that. We increased security to 5 at a minimum, 5 security officers. We added walk-through metal detectors, which I'll talk about in just a second. I have pictures on that. Prior to all shows, we work with the fire department, who does an inspectional walkthrough so that we can make sure that everything's safe and in place. We're working with the police chief and the fire chief and emergency systems so that we can offer a mass casualty training day. So we'll work with everybody to, if there was ever, God forbid, if there was ever a mass casualty event at Memorial Hall, we'll have everybody in place and know where all the nooks and crannies are. All our ushers are crowd-controlled, certified, and trained. Let's see. Sorry. What you see here is pictures of this past weekend. Those are the walk-through metal detectors. We got a grant to have those from opera funds that we're able to install those, so we have 4 of them. This past weekend, we instilled first time ever, 1 walkthrough, and we were able to get over 500 people in searched within a half an hour. So with all 3 trains open and working, we can better increase safety and be ahead of the game. Our staffing levels, we added 2 event managers and 3 sound engineers. The sound engineers is really key. Because we have a group like Greystone, who came out from California, who really wants to stake a flag in Memorial Hall, with these sound engineers, we're able to offer those services in-house, which passes on a savings to our promoters, but also it creates a higher revenue for the town of Plymouth. We have 2 custodians at the hall now, and we have a volunteer usher that brings up to 30 ushers. All those staff members are paid for by outside promoters, so there's no impact on taxpayers. Some of the new policies, and we're going to ask you guys to vote on those, and we'll talk about those at the end of the presentation, is we have a restoration ticket fee policy. That's to help us move forward with the maintenance of the building. A loyalty pricing to reward those promoters who come in and want to do more shows at Memorial Hall to make it more enticing for them to come back. And the security policy to support the items that we put in place. What we see for the future, we just recently did a structural engineering study of Memorial Hall. The group coming up next after me will kind of lead more into that. We did a water intrusion study that was completed in the fall, and we have a feasibility study that will be presented to us in May of 2025. And that's all I have on this. The 2 items that we're going to ask you guys to vote on tonight is loyalty pricing and a ticket fee structure so that it generates revenue for maintenance. So at this point, I'll open up to the select board for questions. Yes?
Any questions or comments from the board? Charlie?
Joe, could you, just for everybody, I understand it, but to the board, explain to the board what the fee ticketing, what that means to the hall, and also the other, the loyalty pricing policy, what you want to accomplish with that.
Yep. So the ticket fee pricing is going to be put in place so that for every ticket sold, whether it be in person, online, over the phone, whether it's cash or credit card, $1 will be charged to the ticket purchaser, and that money will go into the revolving fund that's specifically for maintenance of Memorial Hall moving forward. So it won't be for like major, like if, God forbid, if there's something happening to the roof we need done. But if we need new doors, new windows, we need maintenance done to the air conditioning, we use that money to do those maintenance things so that it doesn't become an impact on taxpayers or the town.
And next thing, too, is you have your thumb on the pulse of the venues in New England. I know whenever you make changes, you get in touch with, and it's kind of like a little family, too. You
Yes.
guys all know each other, a lot of the promoters. And you've checked around. There are other venues that do this fee structure, this fee that you've checked into, right? And it works pretty well.
Yeah, it actually does. A lot of the other venues, like the Cabot, I have friends up at the Cabot in Beverly, Mass. They do the exact same thing. They actually went through a complete restoration of their facility up there. There's, probably just about 100 years old, about as old as Memorial Hall. And that's how they generate revenue to keep up with the maintenance of the building moving forward.
And before I go into the loyalty pricing, just so you know, up until was probably, 3 years ago, when Memorial Hall became profitable.
Yes,
So-
the last 3 years, we've been very profitable. And,
It's been profitable, and that was the goal of the board. I know the town manager, it was a goal that he had set, that we want to be self-sustainable. So the taxpayers aren't paying for this hall. And I just want everybody to know out there that you've added, I think, 6 new vendors that I just read. And I've actually met Greystone. I met them myself. I was there when I happened to be there when you were interviewing them, and they're a pretty impressive group. They're a national group, and everybody should know that they're excited about this hall because of the work that you're doing, and they know what's going to happen in the future. The sound system, the lighting system, everything that you have in place now, that these promoters can walk in here now and just walk in with their equipment, with not there, but all the sound and lights will be there for them. It's going to save them a lot of money.
Yes.
So the goal, I could ask you this, what's your goal? I already know what it is, but what's the goal, the town manager's vision that he's given you for this hall, if you want to tell everybody that?
Yeah, from Boston to the Cape to Worcester, we're the largest indoor concert facility, and there's an opportunity for us to really take hold of that and become the premier entertainment center of the South Shore and the Cape. One of the reasons why it's important that we do the sound system and we have the monitoring, that's the first time we were able to do that, is so that when a promoter comes in, like Spectacle, before we did the sound system, they would come in and they would have to rig a system. They would have to bring in workers to do all that. They would have to bring in all the equipment. They would spend all day doing that. And then they would have to pull all that stuff. That would cost them roughly around $10,000. So if we can do that and then charge back maybe, say, $3,000, I'm just throwing out numbers, say $3,000, right? That saves money so that our promoters can bring a bigger name like Leanne Rhymes, who we are doing right now, into the town of Plymouth. And what my goal and what makes me happy is that every one of those people that come in and sit in our seats, they're going to our restaurants. They're staying in our hotels. They're going to our gas stations. They're going to our convenience stores. They are putting money in the taxpayers' pockets, at least less than the burden on our town. And so that's really important. That really goes into the loyalty pricing program, so that even though we're giving a discount, we're rewarding them to do more shows, which brings in more people, which fills in our restaurants. If you come to Memorial Hall on a Wednesday night when we're having a concert, try getting into any restaurants within walking distance. You can't. It's really helped out the town.
And the investment that that we're making into this hall with the sound, with the lights, the promoters can save money, but they're still going to pay you a fee. The hall's still going to get paid some money, and they're still going to save money. So it's going to increase more revenue for the hall.
Yeah.
So the investment that you've made, that we've made through grant, and I think it's grant money, I believe.
Yeah.
A lot of it's grant money. There is, I'm not sure if there's CPC in there, but that money is well spent in making money.
Yeah.
So, and if, I attended downtown waterfront district businesses, and one of the last 2 or 3 meetings, one of the biggest interests they have is what's going on at Memorial Hall. That's what they asked me. And when I report to them, things that you're talking about tonight, they get all excited, because all you have to do is drive through Court Street, Main Street on a Friday, Saturday, Thursday, whenever there's shows at the hall and the Spire. I'll put the Spire in here too. It's the businesses are packed, and obviously the parking is packed. That's how you know the businesses are. So it's great what you're doing. The veterans. Let's talk about the veterans. You did the veterans. That is a veteran hall. It's a municipal hall. It's very important. The veterans have their area there. It's important that we preserve their space, that they get respect, and it's beautiful what you've done in there. With if anybody hasn't been in there, you got to go see it. You got to go. You can look up if you have a relative or a friend. tell the story, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I see the veterans come in. Obviously, I'm very familiar with that hall, and I see them, and they get tears in their eyes when they see it. So the improvements you made, and the hall's paying for that. That's not coming from the veterans.
No.
That's coming from the proceeds from Memorial Hall. So it's great. I could go on and on about how good it is. We got the Philharmonic, which is, you talk about arts for this community. The Philharmonic is so important to this community. That's their home, and that people just love going there for that. For the arts, it's important to this community. So anyway. I can't wait to watch more things to happen there. As the town manager has said, he wants to make this the premier venue in the South Shore, and it's going to bring a ton of money to this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Canty and Mr. Dave, you have your hand up, Mr. Golden? Yeah.
Can you? I understand the fee for the restoration or renovation to be added to the tickets of $1 per ticket, which seems reasonable on its face. But can you give me an idea? I have attended some events at Memorial Hall, but not enough to have an accurate data set. What is like the average cost of a ticket? I know it probably varies widely, but what's the average cost of a ticket, so I know what a $1 fee on that would be in terms of an increase?
The average ticket, because some of the names have come in recently, are much greater.
Sure.
But our average ticket price is around $39 to $49.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate all the work that you folks have been doing down at Memorial Hall. I can't thank you enough for how you folks take care of the veterans in this town. Can you tell me, I was looking at the loyalty pricing sheet. For events 30 to 35, they're saving the manager fee. What is the manager fee?
It's $300.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you go down 36 to 40, they're saving roughly 500.
Yep.
41 to 45, they're saving 600.
Yep.
750 for 46 to 50, and then 900 for more than 51 shows.
Yes.
Do we have folks who are doing 29 shows who are saying, man, I'd like to come back, but I don't want to pay $300?
Right now, Spectacle Management, who does the bulk of our concerts, prior to last year, they were teetering at that number. Last year, they came in at 31, and this year they're projected to come in at 40 is what they were telling me they want to hit.
Okay. Do you have any kind of promoters that are in each of these categories yet?
They're the only ones right now. Greystone Productions is the next one. They're the ones who actually flew out from L.A. to Memorial Hall to see it, and they really want to do that. So that's yeah.
So you think that this is just another incentive to increase the number of shows that folks will do?
That's exactly what it is. When I said we did 103 shows and we're projected to do 110 next year, I think safely at our present staffing level, Memorial Hall can handle 130 shows. So we have room to grow with another promoter in there. And God forbid if Spectacle ever pulls out or has to leave Memorial Hall, we'll have another promoter with those kind of numbers to continue on that drive.
Okay. And then on the restoration ticket fee, I just want to be clear, this $1 surcharge would go into a special fund only dedicated to improvements to the facility.
Yes, it'll go into a special fund in the revolving fund for Memorial Hall, and the director of the rec department and the director of Memorial Hall will have the rights to those to do the maintenance of the building for that. So it won't be pulled away for anything else.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just don't know if anybody had reached out from our office or from the board on, have you made any contact with like American Cruise Lines? So like maybe try it out. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but.
Actually, yes, I've reached out to them a couple times. My idea was to arrange for shows that was aimed directly at them. So I'm trying to work out dates and their schedules so when they come in, so we could put something in the hall. So keep those people here and
Be a
spending
win
money.
for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the Memorial Hall loyalty pricing policy and the Memorial Hall ticket restoration fee policies as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
I vote yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having me. And Bill Coyle, DPW Director. So first, I want to thank Joe Goldberg for the excellent working relationship that he's had with DPW. It's been great working with him, and I know my staff appreciates his hard work as well. And while I'm thanking people, I'd like to publicly thank my DPW staff for the hard work that they've done over the winter, keeping our roads safe. They've been out countless times this year, and I'm sure they're appreciative of this warm weather that we're having today. Although I think it's going to change next week, but we'll take it while we can. So I'm sure, as many of you are aware, last fall we went out to bid for a request for proposals for a feasibility study for Memorial Hall. And there were 3 proposals that were submitted. The selection committee reviewed the 3 proposals and awarded the contract to DBVW Architects. And you may recognize the name. This is the same architectural firm that also did the improvements, designed the improvements for the town hall in this beautiful building. So with me this evening is Sean Redfern. He's the architect with DBVW, and he'll give you a brief presentation of where we are currently with the feasibility study. Thank you. Sean.
Thank you, everyone. So my name is Sean Redfern. I'm with DBVW Architects. We're an architecture and interior design firm in Providence, Rhode Island. We specialize in historic preservation, landmark projects, and cultural projects such as the Plymouth Memorial Hall. So we've begun. On our team, we have an MEP engineering firm, GGD. They will be evaluating the existing systems within the building. And then we have an acoustical and audio visual consultant, Ascentech, out of Boston. They have actually visited the site and gone and seen a couple of the shows there to evaluate the sound in the station, in the Memorial Hall. Excuse me. So this is where we're at currently. We've gone and done our site visits. We've done our acoustic evaluation of the project. We've met with the town manager and gotten an idea of what everyone is looking for to be a premier venue on the South Shore. And then we're checking with the board now and getting any feedback, any ideas that you might have for the project. Looking forward, we're going to be meeting with the building committee. We're going to be checking in with the veterans who also are occupants of the space. And then future meetings with everyone are to be determined. So in going through the spaces now, each of the consultants has issued to me a preliminary report, which I haven't shared yet with the DPW, which we will, and then we'll filter it through to get down to everyone here. And in the end, we'll be presenting our findings to the select board in May.
Any questions or comments? None? Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Gould, capital improvements. Welcome, David.
Good evening. Thank you. For the record, David Gould, Director of Energy and Environment. We have 4 capital requests at the special town meeting, so I'd like to go through each one of those with you. The first one that I can discuss is a replacement of a vehicle. We have a truck that is used out at Long Beach that has a salvage title and is in poor condition. We'd like to reallocate a truck from natural resources to the beach for its use, and then replace that truck that we're allocating to the beach with an electric SUV. We propose having that funding come from the Environmental Affairs Fund, and it would be eligible for $7,500 in reimbursement from the Commonwealth as well. Okay, I will move on to the second request. That is for some engineering services for restoration at the Black Cat Bogs. As you recall, we acquired this property in late December. It was we were successful in receiving a state grant in the amount of $1,150,000 to acquire the property. That was 90% of the acquisition costs. And what we're proposing is to begin the engineering and permitting to restore that site. And once again, this would come from the Environmental Affairs Fund, and we hope we can follow similar pathways as that we did for Foothills for Pinnacle Preserve and Eel River, where the vast majority of the funding would then come from state and federal resources. So again, that would be $100,000, and that would come from the Environmental Affairs Fund.
Yep, sorry. Mr. Canty?
Mr. Gould, I know it says later on in the memo in regards to this, and I have walked Foothills Preserve many times, and I think it's a very nice parcel. It looks very nice compared to what it used to look like, and it continues to improve. But I know that, that those works that have already been done, those projects that have already been done, used state and federal funding sources.
Correct.
Obviously, federal funding sources seem somewhat in flux at the moment. So if we do this design and permitting, how long is that good for and reliable for in the event that federal funding dematerializes unexpectedly?
That's a
seemingly
great
without
question.
reason?
So we probably have a good 18 months to 2 years to do all the engineering and permitting, which means most of those permits, if we receive them in 2 years, would be valid for 3 years after that.
Okay. Well, we might be able to squeak that by, yes. All right. Be optimistic. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next request is for replacing 2 existing culverts in Morton Park. So if you were to enter into Morton Park through the rear entrance, there are 2 culverts. One is relatively small that you probably wouldn't even notice you drive over. That's in the approximate area of where the cranberry bogs are. That is an unnamed tributary to Town Brook. And then there's a larger arch culvert a little bit further away from that. Both are weight restricted. One currently has a steel plate on it to allow vehicles over it. Both are in need of replacement. Both are also very much undersized. So we were successful in receiving a $2 million grant from Federal Highway to replace those based on the fact that they had this rather unique grant program. That funding was available for culvert replacements for Diogenes Fish Passage, so we did apply. We were very fortunate. We were the only project funded in the Commonwealth and one of only probably half a dozen that was funded on the East Coast. Most of the money went to Pacific Northwest, but we got some funding. So total project costs on this would be a little over $5.3 million, with 2 of them which would then be reimbursed through the grant program.
Mr. Canty?
So similar to my last question, do we have that money in hand yet, or is it just promised to us?
We do not. We have a grant award that we're currently working through the process with Federal Highway. We have not heard from them. We usually communicate about once a week at least. We're trying to finalize that, but we do not currently have a contract in place for that. Obviously, we need to ensure that we can get that done prior to putting the project out to bid. The intent is that we could put the project out to bid in late spring for a fall and winter construction while the park is closed. So we will be learning very quickly whether or not that money will be in fact, coming to the town.
In the event that it is not coming to the town, do we have a backup, or would we just not do it yet?
Well, that would have to be a decision whether or not the town wants to move forward with no other funding, or just pay for it all out of the town funding that would be appropriated.
Okay. We will continue to be optimistic.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The fourth project is, once again, has some grant-related funding to it, but I'll try to answer your question before you ask it.
Thank you.
This is for repairs to the Jenny Pond Dam. This is a rather large project that includes repairs to the dam, but also what we refer to as the Nature Lake Fishway and Bypass project around the dam. And why the two are related is while it improves fish passage around the structure, one of the unique things that the bypass also does is allow us to pass larger storm flows around the dam. Currently, based on the age and the small size of the spillway, the dam can't pass a 100-year storm event, which is one of the goals of dam safety, but with the Nature Lake Fishway, we can then do that. There is also quite a bit of work through that project that replaced things like the sewer line, which would be paid with federal money. That is a $10 million grant, and that one, Mr. Canty, we do have a contract. Now, I can't tell you that contracts are maybe as worthwhile as they once were, but in this case, we do have a signed contract between the federal agency and the town of Plymouth. This funding would allow us to bring the dam structure, which the crest of the dam is the spring lane when you drive into Jenny Park, to bring that up to Massachusetts Office of Dam Safety Standards. We've been able to sort of push off these repairs for a few years as we go through this rather extensive engineering and permitting process, but we are at the point where we really need to move forward and appropriate the funds to achieve regulatory compliance with the state. So again, the dam repairs themselves are a little over $6.7 million for that, and then all the other work is coming from the state, the federal grant, which is a little over $10 million.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Mahoney?
David, maybe a little off topic. Can you give us a little bit of a Jenny update? I'm on that site a few days a week. I did talk to a worker that said that the machine that was removing the sediment from that body of water was not as productive as they would like, and they're going back to, I guess, a more traditional way of using a backhoe to just dig that stuff out. Is that true? And what kind of a timeline are we looking at for at least the completion of the dredging?
So that's inaccurate.
That's inaccurate?
Inaccurate.
Okay.
Right. So I would agree that the hydraulic dredging, which was the system that was used and what was permitted out there, was not as efficient on a daily basis as we all would have liked, but it did achieve what we were looking to accomplish in terms of overall sediment removal. One of the advantages of it was that it mixed a polymer in with the sediment as it came out of the pond and placed it in a geotube to dewater. So, for example, when we did previous upstream dam projects at Off Billington, Plimco, Holmes, that sediment took 6 months, if not longer, to fully dewater before it could be accepted at the landfill. We were hauling out material from the site today to the landfill. In fact, one of the geotubes, the one located in the parking lot, is now completely empty and been hauled in a matter of probably 4 weeks after removal from the pond. So while it's not as efficient as just typical dredging, digging with an excavator, doing it this way made the material much drier and allowed it to go to a landfill much quicker. We do have some work around the edges when we do the footbridge abutment walls, where we would do some excavation with the excavator to clean up some areas where it was very difficult to get the small dredge in, but overall it did its job quite well.
So I'm guessing that the primary consideration right now with respect to time is when the herring return to go upstream.
That is correct.
So in a perfect world, what will be completed when those fish arrive in, 6 weeks from now?
Right, so we have a time of year restriction that's March 1st. We asked the Division of Marine Fisheries for a time of year restriction for in-water work until March 15th. That was granted today. So as of March 15th, any silt-producing work cannot happen in the water. and water levels will be brought up to a higher level than they are now to make the fish ladder operational. At that point, all the footings in the abutments, the stem walls, the wing walls for the footbridge will be poured, and then they'll just be working on things like boulder revetment and doing some of the landside work that won't be soap producing work. So we have about 2 weeks to get that done. But again, we had a concrete pour today, and we have several scheduled for next week on the opposite side. So we're moving along.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Blitzer?
Hi, Dave. You answered it, but I just want to make sure. I know you said March 4th. You have to stop the dredging. It's March 1st?
So any in-water work would need to be complete by March 15th.
Okay, but I'm assuming that's the dredging in the water.
Dredging is complete.
Okay. So the parking lot, what's the time frame for at least getting more of the parking lot open to the public?
Yep. So, like I said, the geotube that was located in the center of the lot was empty today. The geotube has been removed. The fill material that was placed over the parking lot to make a level surface for the geotube is partially removed. You can now drive down to the cul-de-sac and back. Construction vehicles can. So they'll be scraping off the rest of that. And hopefully next week they'll be removing the geotube located in the back from the site, at which point we'll be able to start opening up more of the parking lot.
So half of the parking lot, a third of the parking lot, what do you estimate for the...
We'll probably be able to open another third in the next 7 to 10 days.
Okay, and then where will it go from there?
So we were hoping that we would be able to open it by April 1st. I think we'll beat that.
Oh, you think you'll be able to the whole parking lot?
Correct. I think we're
Well,
going to be a
okay.
little ahead of schedule on that. Yep.
That's good news, okay. Because it's been a tough winter for everybody. I keep telling the businesses down there, the weather's hurt everybody, so don't...
It's been a tough winter to do in-water work.
No, I know. Oh, no, I know, and it has to get done. And I keep telling them, once it's done, it's going to be worth the wait, so... But, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, wish of the board.
I would make a motion to approve Article 3 and all the projects listed therein for inclusion in the special town meeting warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it as well.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Blitzer. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
I vote yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Welcome, Adam.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Adam Blaisdell, School Business Administrator for Plymouth Public Schools. Article 5 in the special town meeting warrant was previously Article 19 in the regular town warrant. So Article 5, what it does, it's seeking $2 million to cover essential costs for the feasibility study for looking at Hedge and Cold Spring. As you know, we've been invited into the eligibility period through the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which is a 270-day process, 270-day period of time where we have to complete 8 steps. The first step is to sign an initial compliance certification, so it's basically saying that we will follow the rules of the MSBA. The second step is to form a school building authority, so we'll be meeting with the town building committee to form the full school building committee. It's a combination of the town building committee plus additional people like the principals, superintendent, and some additional people as well. Then what we have to do is we have to complete an educational profile questionnaire where basically the state asks us a lot of different questions in regards to current classroom sizes, our current enrollment, what our plans are, basically educationally, what our curriculum looks like. Then we have to look at an enrollment projection tool, where what we do is we work with the state, we look at some of the studies that have been done in the past, what our current enrollment is, and then the state determines how big should we build a building, if we should even build a building, or should we renovate a building. So the state tells us how big a building we can build. Then what we have to do is we have to look at maintenance and capital planning. So the state will look at all of the basically our facilities plans. What do we do with our current buildings? Are we maintaining our current buildings? Is there sufficient funding for our current facilities plans? And then they make a determination again, can this town sustain a brand-new building? Can we maintain the building? Can we keep it clean? Can we keep it up to date and so forth? The next step is, this is where really Article 5 comes in, is looking at funding for the feasibility study. And then the final step in the eligibility period is looking at an agreement with the state saying that we'll move forward with the feasibility study. Really, when you're looking at what this $2 million is looking at, it's looking at hiring an owner's project manual. It's looking at funding a designer. It's looking at environment and site testing, and then looking at some other contingencies. So it's basically starting the development of what a building would look like. It doesn't bring it all the way through, but it starts basically the planning of what a building would look like, and following the MSBA recommendations of this is how big your building can be, and so forth. So again, this $2 million is really just to get us into that eligibility period, into the next phase of feasibility and so forth.
Any questions? Mr. Blitzer?
Adam, what's the, I remember when we did Plymouth North, I think we got reciprocated like 68%.
Right now, I think Plymouth would probably be eligible for about 51% reimbursement.
That's still, but this current climate, I'll take 51%. Right. So that will save us a ton of money. And obviously, the key is having a maintenance fund, just similar to what you did to the high schools. Mm-hmm. Because without a maintenance fund, the school is just going to fall apart again. So, but okay, great, thanks.
Right. Right, and the two buildings that we're looking at, again, Hedge, when we go through this, you're going to hear it. This is really for Hedge, but the goal hopefully is to possibly consolidate the two. When you look at both of those buildings have some significant ADA issues. They have some significant repairs that will need to be taking place in the next couple of years, which will cost us millions upon millions of dollars if we don't move forward.
The state won't allow it if they don't think it's necessary.
Correct.
Right, we have to get approved.
Yes.
So if they don't think it's necessary, they won't approve it.
Right. And they could come back and say, you know what, you need to renovate one of the buildings. You need to add on to one of the buildings. So it's really up to them in regards to what direction we head. You are 100% correct.
Yeah, because, with the climate today, too, there's people that, they might think that's not needed, but, I know you know differently. So anyway, thank you.
Mr. Mahoney?
Adam, where's the $2 million coming from?
In talking to Lynn, it would be borrowing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Wish of the board?
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to include special town meeting Article 5 in the special town meeting warrant and recommend town meeting approve it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Mr. Farah, please, welcome.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Patrick Farah, Conservation and Planning Staff. I humbly come before you to talk about Article 7 at this spring's special town meeting. There are a small number of parcels. I think you all received this list. To the best of our knowledge, these properties have not been recorded post-town meeting action. Roughly about 550 properties. Most of them are very, very small, less than a tenth of an acre. This is simply a housekeeping situation where town meeting, like I just said, already approved the conveyance of these tax title or foreclosed properties to different type of land uses, conservation, recreation, to the select board, as well as the water commissioners. And there are several properties that go back almost 15 years. At least there's one. There's several back in 15, and the vast majority of these properties went through town meeting in 2018 as well as 2019. So with the best data we have, we calculated 81 unique legal references, and 14 of those are listed as unknown. So we're not sure what it'll take to go ahead and if they have a clear title or not. Received a email from Capola & Capola, and that is the counsel that our Treasury Department uses for tax title, cleaning up and foreclosure processes and so on. And they provided a cost estimate, and this is where we came up with the $100,000. So based on their estimate of $105 per recording, times 81 comes out to $8,505. Also, council provided the town with a range on tax examination, something simple all the way up to something that's a little more complicated, and that would be between $700 and $1,400 per title search. Now, when I said 81 unique legal references, please remember that these 550 parcels, many of them are kind of clumped together on a single deed because it was contiguous ownership. So based on that range, times 81 legal references, we have between $56,700 up to $113,400. You add the $8,505 for the recording fees, and on the low end, you have $65,205, and on the high end, close to $121,900. So what we did was we took an average, came out to $93,555, rounded up for good measure to be conservative, and that's where the $100,000 comes in. And we're simply looking to just clean this up. And I thank you for your time and available for any questions.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Mahoney?
Patrick, I appreciate your diligence on this one. This is just something that has to be, again, loose ends, needs to be put to bed, and we need to get this done as soon as possible.
I agree.
I just have one question. Moving forward, do you have something in place so if we find one or two next year, or if we have one or two next year, proceeding forward, it'll come up so we're in another board 15 years from now, you know?
So the funding request is just for what's on the books now.
I understand.
And for anything future, actually tomorrow morning we have a meeting with the Treasury Office to talk about a new process, which I am not aware of. I'd love to answer your question, but I can't at this time.
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
Yes.
You answered it, but you didn't.
If I could,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
So you're looking into it, okay.
If I could, we have an agreement that any of these types of parcels that go to town meeting to transfer into conservation, that there'll also be a funding mechanism in that article. So it's not only to vote to transfer, but it's also an appropriation so that we can record these deeds.
And that's why I asked you what I asked you, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Right.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Wish of the board?
I would make a motion to approve to recommend, to include, rather, Article 7 into the special town meeting warrant and recommend that town meeting approve special town meeting, Article 7.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter, welcome.
Good evening. Chad Hunter, Plymouth Harbor Master, here for Article 8, Cruise Ship Revolving. So why are we at special town meeting? Obviously, we have a cruise ship that will be here in May, so we have revenue coming in before July 1st. So that's why we're here at the special. We're really looking to establish a cruise ship revolving fund, and that's going to help support the costs associated with the cruise ship industry coming to Plymouth in the future. This was discussed when we were in negotiations with American Cruise Lines, and something that they really favored because they were investing not only in the town but the infrastructure that they would be using here in Plymouth. They did agree for each dock to have a $2,000 dockage fee and a $1,000 infrastructure fee per visit. And just to give you an idea, last season they were here 24 visits. 2025, they're scheduled to be here for 38 visits. That will amount to $76,000 to the revolving account and $38,000 to the general fund. The contract that was approved is obviously a 10-year contract, and we did put a max cap of 50 visits per year, so potentially they did indicate that they wanted to be right around 50 visits per year. That would be $100,000 to the revolving and $50,000 to the general fund if they're at that 50 visit max. The revolving fund would be used for the following. So obviously we want to support the maintenance cost or improvements to Town Wharf. Without that wharf there and functional, the cruise ship cannot get their people into town. So that's a very important piece. Some examples of that could be hardware replacement, peer surveys. We've been trying to do peer surveys every 5 years to keep on track and really do repairs versus major overhauls. Dredge surveys, fender pile replacement, especially, and just to touch on a fender pile replacement, if a fender pile snaps, that's something that needs to be replaced, hopefully before they come back. So it's an emergency repair, and that was one of the things we talked about using this account for. Personnel costs. So that was the key to the success last year, was actually physically having people on the dock to make sure that the cruise ship could get their passengers to and from the ship, but also to make sure that the commercial industry that we support on this same pier was able to function without issue, and actually it worked out quite a bit better than we had thought. So that was a key piece to making this work, not only last year, but longer term out over the next 10. So we did include this as to support personnel costs with the additional responsibilities and management while the cruise ship is in port. We did include in our budget as a new initiative the Harbor Master operating budget, half of a full-time position, and this revolving fund would support the other half of that full-time position. Supplies and materials be used for the cruise ship and its passengers to basically create a safe and enjoyable stay while they're here in Plymouth. We did have a barrier system set up to have a pedestrian path and kind of have a little bit of separation. It was just those water-filled jersey barriers, which we'd like to dress up a little. And ACL actually has contributed. They're going to provide $10,000 just to do some work on that barrier system. But this, would be really anything that we need, whether it's signage, wayfinding for them. We had a bus stop that was set up, and we'd like to maybe make that a little more permanent. So this would be one of those things that we could use towards those items. And then obviously grant matching funds. So if we are eligible for a grant to either do repairs, improvements to Town Wharf, and this has the ability to either meet those match requirements or be used towards the project, we would do that as well. So thank you for your time. More than happy to answer any questions.
So,
Mr.
Kevin, go
Candy, then
first.
Mr. Blitzer, then Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, Chad. So first things first, unrelated. Is that a body camera?
It it is.
Wow. You're the first law enforcement professional that I've seen in Plymouth actively wearing it. The first I've seen.
The chief's there.
Oh, I can't see him. Right. I can't see that on him, but I appreciate that. So I appreciate seeing one in action. So thank you for that. So in terms of Article 8, because we might get questions about this later, so just rather get it out now.
Sure.
So if we don't establish the revolving fund, the money's still going to come to us. We're just going to have only the general fund to park it in, right?
Correct.
So if folks were to vote no on establishing the revolving fund, it doesn't affect the agreement with ACL. It just limits our ability to isolate portions of that in a discrete fund for these designated purposes. We could take it out of the general fund, but we'd have to do that retroactively as opposed to as the money's coming in, right?
Yeah, the one thing that the contract speaks to, it's $2,000 for dockage and $1,000 for an infrastructure fee. So the $2,000 could go to the general fund, and then I guess the $1,000 could as well as an infrastructure fee, but would probably be set aside for those types of projects.
But if we want to designate it for these purposes, it's better to do it this way than to put it in the general and then take it back out later.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Thank you, Chad. So you'll be able to, that'll go into your budget, you'll be able to spend it, will you have to get an okay, or can you'll be able to spend that money if you need to get some barriers, or how does that going to work?
So this revolving fund is sort of mirrored on the Leo DeMarche, the boat ramp revolving fund that we already have for the boat ramp. So in that case, the fees that come in with people launching their boats, they stay in that, they will either fund improvements in that lot, be used at the boat ramp, or to fund personnel to be there. So this is the same setup. It would be a revolving fund that, as harbor master, we could make expenditures towards costs that are associated with the cruise ship and town wharf. So there are some, specific uses that we could use.
So if you have a need, you see a situation where I need to get this, some barriers or whatever, what process do you have to go to be able to order those and get those?
So the fund, as long as the money is there to support whatever the needs are. Say we need barriers, we break a piling, things of those nature, we would just be going through the procurement process. So if it's over 10,000 quotes, if it's over 50, you're going out to bid, but it's there, it's ready to be used.
I guess what I'm trying to say, will it make it quicker and easier for you to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my point, because this year, there was, let's put it this way, there was a few hiccups. I mean, there was some negative people out there and didn't like the idea of cruise ships coming in. I mean, we all know about it, and it was smooth. I mean, I saw the work that you folks did in the police. It was great. It was a smooth transition. I didn't see any issues, and I watched the ships coming in. I know the town manager was there, and we saw it, and I commend you for getting that done. I don't hear anybody saying anything negative about it. No, I don't. It's because of the way you've accommodated them, okay? And I think it's going to get bigger and better, and the more funds you have to get things that you need to make that efficient, the better it is. So I'm all for it.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Mahoney.
Chad, I don't know if you were here earlier in the meeting, but I had my soapbox out, and written on the soapbox was general fund speech. So we don't get a lot of times to do that twice in a meeting, so here we go. So this is important. I don't know whose idea it was, yours, the town manager's, the finance director, but this is the right thing to do. Because if you put, hypothetically, if you were generating $100,000 a year in revenue with the agreement, and it went into the general fund, then you need something. And the question is, where's the money coming from?
Right.
Hypothetically, if Holtec called us tomorrow and said, you can have that land for $10 million, we don't ask that question because we spent the last 10 years preparing for it. And we know where $10 million is because we planned accordingly. In a perfect world, I would have 100% of this into that fund, but I know that we have to make the finance director happy. So we have to strike a balance, and I'm fully on board with that, okay? Good job.
Thank you.
Chad, I have a couple questions, but one of them has nothing to do with this, but it's to do with you.
Okay.
So it works. I like the idea of that split. I think that was one of the conditions that I had talked to Derek about. I wanted to make sure, John, that it didn't go in the general fund, all of it, and only because of the town's track record of maintaining things, you know. And it's good you don't have to go and ask every time you need to. Sometimes you can't wait. On the barriers, the water-filled ones, I hope you can get rid of those. And there's for two reasons for that, not just the looks, if that's what it is. I don't think they're really safe. We approved, VSB, when I say we, earlier today, approved some ballots for the police department. And so they'll be getting those. I don't know. We check them out. You can look at them. The chief's probably shaking his head back there. But I don't even know when they're coming. But he got approved for it, and I'm glad that you did. Yeah. So even the cement ones doctored up. I just don't think that the plastic is going to stop a vehicle. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely some parts of it that we wanted to be movable. So if we had an emergency, you could quickly move them.
That makes sense.
But then there was some part of it that was more permanent in nature. So we're going to look at something that's a little more substantial. I don't know if there'll be. We're going to have to dress them up a bit, and we've been kind of taking a look at other ports and how they do it. So yeah, we'll absolutely look at those.
And I just note for the record, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we brought this to the Harbor Committee, they were unanimous support, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it unanimous?
They probably would have preferred everything to go to the revolving fund as well, but I think that split is a good happy medium.
But I mean, they were in unanimous support of the cruise ship, actually.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the last thing, what are we going to do with that shack on the end there? I mean, we're losing
that's
revenue,
actually,
the way I see it, so let's talk about it.
That's actually getting renovated by the DPW staff next month. So you'll see some movement down there, some beautification to the exterior, roof, windows, siding, and then that'll go out to bid. So stay tuned.
Very good. Yep. Very good job. Okay. Wish of the board.
I would make a motion to include special town meeting Article 8 in the special town meeting warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. Thank you. Chief Flynn, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, as the chief approaches the podium, if I could just introduce this, Mr. Janea was handing out a revised article, some revised article language. What's in your packet this evening was a proposed bylaw to this general law that was passed back in 2024. So rather than creating a bylaw, what we are proposing is just article language that would request town meeting action to opt out of Chapter 135 of the Acts of 2024. So I'll turn over the presentation to the chief, but I just want you to know that this is no longer a bylaw. Chief.
Evening. Last July, the legislature passed and the governor ultimately signed another gun reform bill. In October, the governor signed an emergency preamble to that bill that would make some of the provisions within the new law take effect immediately. One of the provisions in the law was the new definitions of prohibited areas for firearms by certain persons, including lawfully licensed personnel, people, which town of Plymouth, we have 8,000 license holders. So under the new definition of prohibited area, the legislature and the governor, through her signature, unilaterally named all municipal buildings and properties and land as prohibited areas for the possession of firearms, loaded or unloaded. When I first saw this portion of the bill, there were a couple of concerns I had. Is number one, the constitutional rights of the lawfully licensed persons, but number two, unilaterally named all municipal buildings and parks as gun-free zones, and in my profession, soft targets. One thing that they did include within the bill, kind of in a reverse manner, is they allowed a provision in this section of the law where towns can opt out of this provision of the law through a vote of their legislature pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 4. Typically, my understanding is if the legislature passes laws, communities tend to opt in, but they've given the town an opportunity to opt out. After some consultation in guidance from the Massachusetts Police Association and consultation with other chiefs, I met with the board and discussed my concerns about this portion of the bill. And shortly after that meeting, I was asked to draft some language to present to the board and potentially to the town meeting to see if they would be willing or interested in enacting that provision to opt out.
Mr. Canty, Mr. Mahoney, Mr. Blitzer.
So this could be for the chief or could be for town council or the assistant town manager. So the materials in our packet reference a bylaw with some specific provisions and proposals. This new version is worded substantially differently, and specifically in regards to the bylaw had mentioned administrative buildings and town properties as being excluded from prohibited areas. The proposed article language makes mention rather only of municipal administrative buildings. So does that mean that the town properties in the bylaw language would have included places like Nelson Park, places like the Beaver Dam Conservation Area, would have included a random tax title property in West Plymouth? The proposed language we were handed moments ago doesn't mention town properties, just administrative buildings. So is that intended to still be included, or is that intentionally excluded in what is now the article language?
So it would be my intent to include the lands as well, as in the original language.
So you've got buildings, grounds, parking areas that are prohibited.
Right.
Areas, so buildings, grounds areas.
Yeah. Or parking.
And this is
Okay, put the language in here. Excuse me. Only so under the control. So when we added lands to this, when this was reviewed, the opinion of our attorneys was when they talk about places owned, leased, or under the control of state, county, municipal government for the purpose of government administration, it also included the lands and parks that are owned or administered by the municipality.
Even if you describe it as a municipal administrative building, that would include like the Beaver Dam Conservation Area or Nelson Park, for example?
So it would be my intent to include all the properties owned in where government is administered by the town of Plymouth, correct?
So if I could, so I think what you're getting at, Mr. Canty, is that we would have to amend the proposed article language to include, so I would amend the administrative buildings and property. per the chief's recommendation.
Municipal administrative buildings and town properties.
And right, town property.
That's what it said.
Okay. I have, so after moving on from that, so I guess I'm going to be candid, I have concerns about this proposal. I know that there is, I guess one could say, two schools of thought about gun control. Some people think that there's an adage like the only solution to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, which I think is a great adage if you manufacture, sell guns, but not always a great recipe for a civilized society. But I guess my concern would be like, so say something happened in a town property or a building, and an individual who's not going to follow whatever law is passed, and I know that's the concern, is that a crazy person, somebody with a vendetta is going to come out, they're going to come into town hall or some other property, well, no matter what the law says. If there's someone else there, present, with a firearm, I guess the theory is they could neutralize that threat potentially, but they would also be adding themselves to the incident. And if your officers, chief, are responding, how would those officers be able to discern who was the first aggressor versus who was the good guy with the gun in that situation?
Well, in situations like that, you would expect and we would hope that all involved would follow the guidance and directions of the officers arriving on scene. We typically we're not trained to shoot without warning, so we would hope that a responsible gun owner would follow our lead. So that would be my answer to that.
Do you have concerns about, I mean, just owning a firearm and having one, and maybe having gone to a shooting range sometimes, as some gun owners have done, that doesn't mean that they're trained or, for lack of a better term, responsible when themselves under fire in a situation where someone is shooting back at them. Are there concerns about the quote-unquote good guy with a gun also adding to the threat level by poor aim or other incidents?
There's always concerns when anybody has a firearm or is using a firearm. You know, if I might add, Mr. Cantu, that the issue you're talking about today, right now, was never an issue before last October. I've been a police officer for 28 years. I've before boards as prior, and not one board has brought up the concern of lawfully licensed license holders being in a public building or being in a public park. It's only becoming, in my mind, an issue now because I've raised the question or asked you to take a look at this law and see if you want to, accept the offer of the state to, to back out of the provision or stay status quo with the new law.
I understand. I guess I'm at a loss for why we would want to. I mean, the prior law was what the law was. If the law has changed and these are lawfully carrying gun owners, presumably they would adjust their behavior to adapt to the new law. Right. I'm curious why we would need to, what the public benefit in opting out really is. So that's what I'm trying to get to. If it is a net benefit or if there are unintended or additional costs that should be considered.
Well, we're fortunate that we've never had an incident, so we can't measure that. I'm just looking forward. I presented an issue, a security concern to the board, and I presented what I see as a solution to that. So,
understood.
I forget who's next. Was it Charlie? Yeah, Charlie?
Is his mic on?
Put it on, Kevin, I'm sorry. You want to hear me? Okay. Is when you carry a gun, when you get and I don't have a license to carry because I'm not a big gun guy, but it's a right, and you have a responsibility. You got to follow certain rules. If you pull a gun, it's got to be reported. If you don't, you can't. If you have any alcohol, you're not supposed to carry a gun with any alcohol. I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities that go with it. With that being said, to enforce what this law, we would have to have metal detectors, and would have to have full-time security in the buildings for anybody walking in here. Because what's to stop? Right now, anybody can come in now with a gun, and luckily, nothing's happened. And if there was a threat, Chief, I'm sure you'd have security here. You'd have, if there was some kind of a hearing or something. But right now, as it stands, if we were going to enforce this, then we need full-time security in all our buildings. The town hall, school, school committee, places like that. Schools, you can't get in now unless you get buzzed in. But even that, what's to stop somebody coming in? And I don't want to make public this kind of stuff. But so, I understand where you're coming from. So, it's as far as the parks go, if somebody's in one of our public parks, for instance, or even here, and pulls a gun out, okay, even if he doesn't shoot it, but just pulls it out for no reason, that person's going to lose their gun permit. They're going to get arrested, and that's the ramification. So, to enforce, one more, I'll say it one more time, to enforce this, we have to have full-time security in all our buildings. And it's going to cost a lot of money. We need equipment in the buildings. Now, for instance, Memorial Hall, there's one building that serves alcohol. So therefore, you can't get into Memorial Hall unless you go through a metal detector and a warrant. Or in certain cases, for the caged Titans, they're patted down, they're pat frisked to get in that building. If somebody has a gun, because I've been there and I've done it, if a gun gets found on a person, they're put in custody, they're taken to the side, they produce a FID, the police officer pulls them aside, make sure he's got a FID card. If it's valid, he's got two options. He either locks the car in a gun safe in his car, actually three options, takes it home, or he can get his money back and leave. Because the promoter, who's the person that's in charge of the hall, or the manager, has the right to not allow. It's their call to in a private venue to not let somebody in with a gun. It's their right to do that. And I've had people say, I'm licensed, I'm legit. Doesn't matter. There's alcohol here, and it's the right. The manager of the hall does not want a gun in here. So that's how it works. Any responsible gun owner knows how that stuff works. So I see what you're trying to do, Chief. It's, and I know, I don't even want to say it, well, if something ever happens, but we can't foresee that right now. So if that's something that wants to get done in this town, you better be ready to spend a lot of money on security and equipment for our buildings.
So I guess it's not a matter of enforcement of this portion of the law. We're going to enforce it as we're instructed to, as the law is now. I saw a security concern. I brought it to the attention of the board, and I was asked to write some language. And again, it's up to the board if they want to give their okay to this or they give their approval to it. Again, my concern is, Mr. Cantor, you go to work every day at the courthouse. You have uniform security, you have metal detectors, you have police officers there carrying firearms. We should have, my concern is for the employees in the municipal buildings as well. So that's why I brought it to the attention, so you're aware of my concerns. You know, and I thought it was my due diligence to inform you of the change in the law and my concerns.
Mr. Golden, Mr. Mahoney?
Chief, what were the origins of the background of this new law at the state level?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
When's it for? Is this something that's been in the works for a few years?
As far as I know, it has been. They finally passed the bill, and it was signed in July. With supposed to be a rollout. Certain provisions of the law take effect at certain times, but at some point in October, they decided to, or the governor decided to add the emergency preamble.
Okay, and what occurred prior to this law passing? How were things? You just touched on it.
I have no idea.
So one of those 8,000 people that you said is licensed to carry in the town, they could walk into any of these buildings and unbeknownst and...
Or anybody who's not licensed, anybody from a nearby state that has more lax firearms laws, or it could be anybody.
And how would you know?
You don't know.
You don't, because they're concealed.
With zero incidents in your 28 years of law enforcement.
Correct. The only incident I had was at a school, to be honest with you. There's a gentleman who inadvertently stopped after work to pick up his daughter, went to put something in the back of the trunk of his car, and another parent saw, reported it as they should have, and we took action. But in my 28 years, nothing.
Okay.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, thanks for being here tonight. So you said that you brought this forward because you consider this a security concern. To this point, have we been relying on hypothetical gun owners to secure town hall?
No. What I was concerned with was town hall and other municipal properties being labeled as gun-free zones, like schools. Favorite target of people who choose to do certain types of illicit activity, a place that are going to have the least resistance. They know they're not going to. They know that it's going to be no resistance at schools.
Right.
So that's my concern. Is these locations, again, gun-free zones?
So you're concerned that town hall will become a target, or other municipal buildings?
I can't predict the future, but it's not, I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of possibility. Hopefully it never happens, but.
So who's responsible for securing town hall and other municipal buildings?
I would say the board.
So are there other steps that we could take to more proactively secure our facilities rather than relying on folks who are,
sure,
as Mr. Candy said,
I mean,
guys with guns?
the Plymouth schools do a phenomenal job. Every door to their facilities are locked. You have to ring a buzzer to go in. You have to be looked at a camera. They ask you where you're going, who you're going to see. They bring you into a vestibule at another locked area. Double check who you are, what your purpose or your business is in the building, then they let you continue on. I don't think that would work in a building like this. You'd have a line all the way down the street.
I guess what I'm asking is, could there be other recommendations that you could make to us to better secure our facilities?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Brandisi?
I just want folks to realize that what this law does, it disarms our public facilities. So what I mean by that, it disarms town officials from carrying a weapon. What it does not do, does not disarm the public. We'll never know if somebody came in today with a weapon or not. But as all town officials, we would have to abide by the law. And so those folks that do carry weapons in this building or any other building would have to follow that law. And if they carried a weapon in this building, they'd be punishable. So to the chief's point, we would expect our town officials to abide by the law and not carry weapons. And so any perpetrator would recognize that and recognize that this building is a soft target or any other municipal building. Are there things that we can do to make it more safe? Potentially. We'd have to do research on that, on technology. I can guarantee you, though, there's nothing that it will prevent an active shooter from entering this building.
I do have two follow-ups, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
Chief, do you know if this has been, if this exemption has been adopted or exclusion has been adopted in other communities?
One thus far, Rochester, and there are other chiefs exploring the same avenue. They have the same concerns.
And my last question is, do you know if this has been challenged in the courts at all?
There have been a number of challenges in the court, and last I knew there were three lawsuits going forward.
Okay.
So,
None of them having concluded?
No, not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to say, we can, do scenarios. We can sit here for another couple of weeks. I mean, we, heaven forbid anything ever was to happen, but I'm going to cut right to it. The town of Plymouth pays you to make these decisions, and you're educated, and, if you're asking me to support this, I definitely will, Chief.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One last thing, Chief, if I can, Mr. Chairman. So just to be clear, what you're saying, it's a little clearer to me now. So what you're saying is, if this law, if we adhere to what the state wants, nobody in this building could have a gun. No
Just,
employee, no.
Active and retired law enforcement only.
What's that?
Active and retired law enforcement only.
Okay, but they're not here all the time, and so there could be people, employees in this building that have guns.
It could be, I wouldn't know, yeah.
So, but but anybody can walk in this building at any time with a gun concealed.
Yes.
And there'd be no defense, nobody here to defend us. So that's your reasoning, so we're not defenseless. Is that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Motion? Any more questions?
If you'll entertain a motion, Mr. Chairman, to the town manager. Are you looking for the language that was passed out on this piece of paper?
The recommended language that was passed out, I believe, with the chief's amendment of after the words administrative buildings, add in town property.
What was that?
Add the words and town property after the words administrative buildings. So it would read municipal administrative buildings and town property from being defined as prohibited areas. That's the chief's recommendation.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. We approve Article 12 for submission to town meeting, exclusion of municipal administrative buildings and town properties from definition of prohibited area as provided for in Chapter 135 of the Acts of 2024. To see if the town will vote to exclude, as provided for in Chapter 135 of the Acts of 2024, its municipal administrative buildings and other town properties from being defined as prohibited areas under Chapter 269, Section 10, thereby allowing possession of a firearm loaded or unloaded as defined in Section 121 of Chapter 140 in said buildings or other properties, and take any action relative thereto.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mahoney, second by Mr. Blutzer. Discussion, Mr. Canty, then Mr. Golden.
So I appreciate the chief bringing this forward, and I can appreciate his perspective on it. I just happen to differ on it, but I mean no disrespect, chief, or his perspective, or any of my colleagues that have a different perspective. I would point out that enforcement does not require extensive metal detectors and security. For example, it's illegal right now to possess heroin, a Class A drug, in this building, but we don't have drug-sniffing dogs at every door. It's just if you're found with it, you're penalized appropriately under the law. The existence of that law discourages you from having that here, and you can choose to comply with that or you could not. I wouldn't have a day job if passing a law was enough in and of itself to force people to comply with certain behaviors. But that doesn't mean that I want to support people bringing loaded or unloaded firearms on these particular parcels. Municipal and administrative buildings or town properties such as the Beaver Dam Conservation Area, which has multiple miles of trails in the woods and is far away from other people. I think there's danger there in having people out there and allowing that in that method. I just can't find myself supporting that. I would point out that as it relates to buildings like this building, there are other methods that could be explored. There are electronic locks that could slow down an active shooter. There are security cameras. There are other methods that could be taken as opposed to relying on members of the public or employees to take a vigilante approach to solving the problem until the police respond. And in my opinion, only adding to the potential danger to other people in that area. Most gun and firearm accidents and injuries happen by people that own and possess those weapons. So that tends to make me think that although many people like owning guns, not many people like using them and knowing how to use them responsibly, particularly in a what would be called a combat situation where they are under fire as opposed to shooting at a range. The courthouse was also brought up. I anticipate that one of my colleagues may also bring up the courthouse as an example. So the courthouse has a sign outside of it now.
But that's really not a point of order. Let's stick to the article.
It is a
We're
point of
talking
order.
about town.
But it is.
So
It was cited by the
being
petitioner.
the hour, can we talk to the article?
I am,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
that's not the courthouse.
It was cited by the petitioner as a justification.
The last I knew, this was the town of Plymouth Town Hall.
Correct,
Not
but
the Theresa Murray Courthouse.
correct. But it was cited as a building as an example.
I'll give you 2 more minutes.
Appreciate that.
Good.
So that building has metal detectors, but are operated by COs, court officers that do not have firearms. Many employees, all the employees get to go in without going through metal detectors. Any lawyers or anyone with a bar card gets to go in without going through a metal detector, including myself. That is a building where there are many stakes and stressors. Family members are going to jail for a number of years. People are losing their children. People are losing their inheritances. And yet that is a place where only law enforcement personnel on active duty can bring in firearms. And there have been no incidents there that I am aware of in regards to people coming up and showing up with firearms. And if that building can function in that way with those protections that they have, I think this community can find other methods to solve this particular problem without resorting to relying on individual gun owners to take the matter into their own hands, particularly when they may be misinformed as to what is going on. I think that could be a recipe for disaster, to say the least. So for those reasons, I cannot support Article 12, and I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I know it's getting late and people are getting a little tired here, but respectfully, Kevin, you defend the criminals, and I defend the public, the criminals against the public, okay, and try and keep them safe. And the way you do that and keeping guns out of a public building is by pat-down searches, metal detectors, okay, ones. That's the only, you need enforcement to keep them out of buildings. People can walk in here any day of the week with guns, okay? So you do need enforcement with metal detectors or pat search. You need security at the door to stop them coming in. Very simple. So I support this. The chief wants this, and I support it.
Mr. Golden?
Things are getting a little heated in here, but I'd say respectfully to my colleague, We're not protecting the public. We're expecting other people to protect the public. We're expecting what amounts to a vigilante to protect the public. So I disagree, Mr. Bletzer, with everything that you've just said. And if you don't mind, I have the floor at the moment. I'm perfectly happy to let the courts sort this out. If the process that's established by our Constitution finds that this law has been applied unconstitutionally, I'm perfectly happy to have it overturned. I don't think that we need to do it ourselves, so I'll vote no.
Any more discussion? Mr. Bletzer?
That's not what I'm trying to do here, okay? I agree with the chief, with his decision. And if I was trying to protect the public, if I thought there was a threat, I would say, let's have metal detectors, let's have security at the door. I don't think it's necessary right now.
Anyone else? Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
No.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
No.
And myself, yes. Carries. Thank you, Chief. Full sale, Mr. Brandisi? I believe, right?
Jade,
I'm sorry.
can you get the map? Jade, can you slide that up so we can see the map? Can you slide that up so we can see the map? So we can see the map. There you go. Thank you. Okay, so what's before you this evening, as a recap from last week's meeting, I brought before the board a recommendation to take these 6 parcels, which are shown on the screen, by eminent domain. Collectively, these 6 parcels are known as the full sale parcels. You should have, Mr. Canty, in front of you motions for the 2 different property owners. So as a recap, the green parcel is owned by Mr. Adams. We are recommending to acquire this property by a friendly eminent domain taking. This is the property at 125 White Horse Road at an acquisition price of $260,000. The other 5 parcels are owned by the Fucillo family. They represent 8 St. Charles Ave and 277 Taylor Ave. We are also recommending to take these 5 parcels by eminent domain for a total acquisition price of $270,000. If the board were to approve, the expectation is that town council will take these documents, these eminent domain documents, to the registry tomorrow, have them recorded. Once these recordings are complete, these 6 parcels will be owned by the town.
Questions or comments for Derek? Seeing none. Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So taking each one of the 2 parcels or 2 sets of parcels separately, first in regards to the Adams land, I would make a motion that the Select Board vote to adopt the order of taking to acquire real property by eminent domain located at 125 White Horse Road and to award damages therefore, all as set forth in the order of taking presented to the Select Board at this meeting, a copy of which shall be kept on file with the town clerk, and to authorize the chair or his designee to execute any and all documents as may be necessary in order to consummate said taking of real property by eminent domain.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Mahoney, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay, discussion? Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Bletzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion in regards to the other parcels, the so-called Fucillo land. that the Select Board vote to adopt the order of taking to acquire real property by eminent domain located at 277 Taylor Avenue and its unnumbered appurtenant parcels, and at 8 St. Charles Avenue and its unnumbered appurtenant parcels, and to award damages therefore, all as set forth in the order of taking presented to the Select Board at this meeting, a copy of which shall be kept on file with the town clerk, and to authorize the chair or his designee to execute any and all documents as may be necessary in order to consummate said taking of real property by eminent domain.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Bletzer?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous again. Anyone wishing to speak under public comment? Please come up to the mic and identify yourself for the record. Jay, do we have anybody online? We do? Okay.
Okay. I'm going to start over if that's okay with you. Hi, good evening. My name is Catherine Harrelson. I live at 94 Shady Hill Road, Newton, Massachusetts. I work for a Plymouth-based organization called Community Land and Water Coalition, a nonprofit grassroots organization. I'm here tonight to talk on an issue that's come before the town of Plymouth several times. The words that I'm speaking tonight are my own, and they come from no one else but me. My words are not intended to hurt, and they are not intended to weaponize. I come here to speak from the heart, and I come here to generate discussion. What I'm about to say is based on my own personal studies of issues that affect the town today. I'm going to read a passage from the book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, written by a librarian named D. Brown and first published in 1959. It's captioned, An Indian History of the American West. This is page 185, and the following takes place in 1869. The meeting with President Grant was on June 9th in the executive office of the White House. Red Cloud is a chief of the Oglala Tetons, members of the Sioux tribe, the Sioux Nation. Red Cloud repeated much of what he had said at the Interior Department, emphasizing that his people did not want to live on the Missouri River. The Treaty of 1868, he added, gave them the right to trade at Fort Laramie and have an agency on the Platte. President Grant avoided a direct reply, but he promised to see that justice was done to the Sioux. The president knew that the treaty ratified by Congress made no mention of Fort Laramie or the Platte. It specifically stated that the Sioux agency was to be, quote, at some place on the Missouri. Privately, he suggested to Secretary Cox and Commissioner Parker that they call the Indians together the next day and explain to them the terms of the treaty. So my interpretation of this passage is that a treaty was ratified by Congress before they had heard the input on the contents of the treaty from the indigenous community that would be directly affected by that treaty. We have a situation here that took place in the past few months that I believe has echoes of the past in it. On December 4th, 2024, the Planning Board opened a public hearing for a site plan approval at 71 Hedges Pond Road. At this public hearing, a letter was presented to the Planning Board in which the chairwoman of the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe presented new information to the board that they had not been consulted and a study was warranted. And the Planning Board voted to approve anyway. I believe this is indications and implications from the past that decisions were made beforehand, before input from the indigenous community. And I would simply ask going forward that any land use development decisions within the town of Plymouth have prior consultation with the Wampanoag tribes who are directly affected by these decisions before any decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Leiden, Precinct 17. I've been here since 3 o'clock this afternoon. I've been in meetings since 3 o'clock this afternoon. I came here to this meeting, and it was a long meeting. And I thought we weren't going to discuss any issues that should go before the planning board and not the select board. I don't know why we're still talking about this, and it should go to the planning board. There is remedies if you don't like what's going on to go to the planning board. You can go to land court, but I'm tired. I don't need to listen to this for about the 50th time. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard under public comment? Do we have someone online? Ms.
Hello,
She-
my name.
You go
Hello,
ahead.
my name is Meg Sheehan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I will be brief and I'll get right to the point. I'm a volunteer attorney with Community Land and Water Coalition. I'm speaking about the illegal destruction of 33 acres of forest and land at 71 Hedges Pond Road and the town's refusal to issue a cease and desist to stop the work pending a public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals. On January 16th, 2025, the building inspector issued building and zoning permits to an organization claiming to be a nonprofit. That is the Plymouth Foundation for sand and gravel mining and a vague future development. The land was sold to a local mine operator, Eric Pontiff, on February 7th. In mid-January, Mr. Pontiff started cutting down trees, logging, removing trees and vegetation, and so far about 15 acres of the 33-acre site have been logged and irreversibly destroyed. On February 14th, 12 people filed a legal appeal of the building inspector's permits and asked the building inspector, Mr. Jason Silva, for a cease and desist pending a zoning board of appeals hearing. On February 18th, the building inspector denied the cease and desist, and the logging and land clearing is continuing 6 days a week, even though the legal appeal has been filed. The land is sacred Wampanoag land. It is rare species habitat and prime forest. On February 18th, the board, the town manager, and the building inspector received a determination from the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer of the Wampanoag Tribe that the land clearing should not occur without an archaeological study. Obviously, the work is going ahead without that study in violation of the law and pending the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. In 1993, the town meeting unanimously voted to put this land into conservation. The town staff never followed through to protect the land and allowed it to fall into the hands of this developer. Now the town is allowing the destruction of this land and the sacred Wampanoag Native American archaeological site, even though a legal appeal has been filed. The Board of Selectmen is responsible for all town employees, including the town manager and the people he supervises, including the building inspector. There should be a thorough investigation of how and why the town manager and building inspector are allowing the rights of the Wampanoag people to be violated and how the law is being violated pending this scheduled Zoning Board of Appeals hearing on March 16th. The only legal choice now is to file another legal appeal of the cease and desist denial and go to court. In the meantime, the building inspector has the
Point of
authority
order,
to put a
the
pause in
speaker
the
has
work
exceeded the
pending
3 minutes
appeals,
allotted for public comment.
and the Board of
I would ask that a
Selectmen
vote of the board be sought to extend the time if such request is made by the speaker.
I have about 20 more words. I request more time.
I make a motion that we grant the speaker another minute.
The Board of
I'll
Selectmen
second
should
the motion.
ensure that the town is not violating
We have a
the law
motion.
and allowing this desecration of
We
an
have a motion that has
archaeological
been
site.
made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Bletzer, how do you vote as to whether to give the speaker an additional minute?
24 words, we might as well let it go.
Yes or no?
Is that a yes or a no, Mr. Bletzer?
That's a yes, Kevin. That's a yes.
Mr. Golden?
No.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney votes yes. Mr. Canty votes no.
Yes.
Mr. Quintal votes yes. Ms. Sheehan, you have an additional minute.
In the meantime, the building inspector has the authority to stop the work pending the appeals, and the Board of Selectmen should ensure that he is not violating the law and allowing this desecration of an archaeological site and forest. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the public comment? Jade? No? All set in here? Okay. Town manager's report.
Great, thank you. So just because Ms. Sheehan brought my name into her statement, I need to go on record to say that there has been no notice sent by Mass Historic for an archaeological study. There has no law been violated. So true to form, Ms. Sheehan has provided a lot of misinformation to the community, but that's to be expected as of late. Moving on to my real report, Eversource has promoted that they will decrease the utility bills over the next couple of months by 10%. I know that this has been a major concern amongst our residents over the past few weeks, and thanks in large part to our state delegation and their colleagues, and to the governor for pressing DPU to work with Eversource. Again, Eversource has announced that they will decrease energy rates by 10% over the next couple of months. On top of all that, again, a lot of credit to our state delegation, Senator Fernandez, Rep. Lenatra, and Rep. Badger. They have organized an energy forum. This energy forum will take place at Plymouth North High School on March 19th at 6:30. We will have representatives from DPU and Eversource in attendance to speak to our residents about how energy rates work, the delivery charges, and things of that nature. So again, that's March 19th at 6:30. We'll make a couple more announcements. We'll post this on the website so folks are aware of this event. Moving on, this past week, we just received word from the National Laboratory that 6 birds that had passed away and were tested for avian flu tested positive. Although we had stated that in the past that they were highly suspect of being positive for avian flu, we finally got confirmation from the laboratories that it's true. And then just yesterday alone, another 21 birds were picked up at Long Beach. Again, we suspect that they also have succumbed because of avian flu. Just last week, the Board of Health has passed a ban on styrofoam in this community. This affects restaurants who would normally use styrofoam in part of their takeout product. So this would prohibit those restaurants from using styrofoam cups, styrofoam plates, and any other styrofoam takeout devices. This ban will take effect on January 1st, 2026. So advance notice will be given and letters will be sent to all of our food vendors. The Halfway Pond Road project, the intersection of Halfway Pond Road and Long Pond Road will begin very soon. We have a pre-construction meeting with AD Makepeace and their contractors, our DPW, and our police department. This is coming up this week. We have a target date to begin construction in early April. We do plan on having a number of public meetings around this. We do know in particular that Precinct 16 and Precinct 17 have asked to be engaged as to when this construction project will take place, so we'll be sure to reach out to those chairs to alert them of any public meetings that we decide to have. And then I would just last end with the Children Business Fair is coming up in a couple of weeks. Because we've had such a great turnout over the last few years, there'll actually be 2 dates for the Children Business Fair. The first will be on March 5th. That will be held at Plymouth North High School. And the second will be held on March 12th at Plymouth South High School. Right now we have over 250 students who have signed up for the Children Business Fair. Pending any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Any questions from Mr. Brandisi? I just have a comment and a question. On the Eversource 10%, I believe that's the gas, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Is that just transformation to the summer bill? Like, in other words, they're discounting it now, adding on interest, and then going to tax the customers in the summer when it's cheaper? Or is it an actual?
They announced today that they would be lowering everyone's utility bills by 10% within the next month or two. So I think it's going to probably take some time for them to do that.
Well, I mean, I've been seeing it, that it was just for the winter months because it's higher, and they're going to, in other words, the balance you're going to pay for, so they're not really lowering it. I mean, that's my question. Are they actually lowering it?
We can certainly follow up with that.
Deferring it, I guess, as we say down here, till the summer.
Right. We could follow up, but I mean, I'd like to believe they're not just deferring the use of those resources.
And when they do come visit or answer our questions, my question is, I would like to know how the delivery fee is figured. In other words, it's like almost double whatever your cost is. I want to know what makes up that fee. I'm sure everybody wants to know that. How do you get the 70% goes here, 40%? I know some must go to Mass Save, I'm hearing, but I want to hear it from them because people want to know, and that's what we do. So,
good questions.
Somebody else wants to get everybody going. I'm not trying to, but it's a very hot subject right now, and rightfully so. But thank you. Any other questions for Derek? Seeing none. New business? Mr. Canty, and then Mr. Blutzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just wanted to highlight for the community, give people enough advance notice that the next townwide cleanup has been scheduled for Saturday, May 3rd. That will occur rain or shine. You can sign up. There's going to be flyers around. We usually have these at town meeting. QR codes. You can contact Patrick Farah at Town Hall to sign up. That's pfarah@plymouth-mass.gov. Give them a call. But May 3rd, rain or shine, there will be a townwide cleanup that is co-sponsored by activities of the town as well as by Sustainable Plymouth. We thank them for their continued efforts that have been going for many years, and it's always very successful. So just want to highlight that for folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Mr. Blutzer.
I just want to congratulate the Plymouth Pawtuxet Museum. They got the USA Today voted them the #1 outdoor historic museum in the country. I heard that over the last couple of days on WATD. They announced that. So congratulations. They bring a lot of tourist business to Plymouth, and they're a huge asset for us. As far as new business, I want to ask the town manager about. I know we've received our 2 all alcohol package store liquor licenses, and my question is, when are we going to post these, and so we can get some applicants to apply for these 2 licenses, so we can get some revenue going.
So to your point, we received notification from the state that the special legislation passed a couple of months ago. We can work very closely with our licensing agent, Lisa Johnson, who would know this process, given that this is her function for the town, and go ahead and advertise those 2 licenses in short order.
So hopefully it'll be shortly.
Say that again?
It'll be shortly, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll work with Lisa Johnson. Again, this is what this is what she does. So we'll talk to her about the process and get it advertised.
Great, thank you.
Anything on the letters? Old business? Mr. Mahoney?
I just wanted to say thank you to a former colleague of ours. Held a fundraiser down on the campus of Mass Maritime Saturday night. I know I was able to attend. Extraordinary event. Town manager was there also. I'm sorry, the assistant town manager was there too, and Kate was there also, and members of the state delegation. But Ms. Cavaco put on a phenomenal fundraiser down there. I'm very impressed with the campus. It had been years since I was been down there. It's amazing who you meet with respect to not only this community, but surrounding the communities that have children to go to school down there. And I wasn't aware of it, but to make the night that much more special, their brand-new ship, the Patriot State, returned that evening and docked right out front. And, you know, it's just a very impressive sight to all to see the old, I guess, I don't know if they're sailors or whatever, you cadets or whatever we refer to them as, but all standing up there on the different levels of the ship as they come in. So.
What was your birthday, John?
No, apparently.
Oh, Betty's birthday. Yeah, it was actually Saturday. Yep. Anything else under old business? Well, in saying that, happy birthday, Mrs. Cavaco. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.